Working at Starbucks has its fair share of ups and downs. Just ask the actual employees, who are never shy about sharing their experiences on the internet. Take a look at what it's really like to work at Starbucks, according to the people who know best. Rude customers are reportedly a serious occupational hazard when you're gainfully employed at Starbucks.
Venti is a large coffee.
Really? Says who? Fellini?
How much is that? Here's a 10.
Do you accept lira or is it all
You know
euros
what? Just
now?
keep the change.
Belen Jimenez is one Starbucks partner who claims she regularly has to deal with customers who don't know the first thing about coffee, but who nevertheless have a whole lot of attitude.
May I please have a double shot half almond milk latte with 2 half pumps of caramel, a light dusting of cinnamon.
In a blog post Jimenez wrote for The Barista Life, she depicted a rather unpleasant scene at the coffee chain. Customers come in day after day asking for things that make absolutely no sense.
Well, I don't know. The Irish cream sounds good, huh? What's that?
It's cream and it's Irish.
Hurry up and order!
Excuse me.
Another Starbucks barista took to Reddit to complain about situations where someone might literally be screaming in your face because you forgot a single pump of their skinny vanilla syrup. Yet another barista on Reddit offered this ominous warning: don't work at Starbucks unless you're prepared to deal with the dumbest, rudest, most entitled customers you will ever meet.
Look, I'm a frequent coffee drinker. I'm part of the club. I have a card. Do you have a card? Do you have a card?
No, I don't have a
Does anyone
card.
here have a card?
So it sounds like one of the toughest parts of the job is dealing with rude, caffeine-deprived customers. But here's one important rule of thumb that customers should keep in mind. If you feel well within your rights to disrespect the person who's making your coffee, you should probably expect them to retaliate with a vengeance. Speaking to Cosmopolitan, one Starbucks barista admitted to giving rude customers regular espresso shots after they specifically asked for decaf. That same employee took delight in serving regular milk to difficult customers who ordered skim. However, the barista only resorted to these desperate measures when the customer was being, quote, pushy or rude. Employees also claim they retaliate by making drinks with decaf coffee instead of regular, thus depriving their already agitated customers of their much-needed caffeine buzz. In a Reddit thread, one Starbucks partner said, "When you think you're entitled to anything and complain about a non-issue, you're getting decaf, and I'm not apologizing." Thankfully, it sounds like these revenge schemes don't ever get that hardcore. When Cosmopolitan asked its blabbermouth barista about spitting in a customer's drink, the response was, "Oh no, I would never do that. Besides, we have cameras on us all the time." Well, thank goodness for those cameras, right? If you've ever stepped into Starbucks during a busy time of day, you've seen just how chaotic it gets in there. According to several employees, working at Starbucks can be incredibly stressful. Speaking to Business Insider, one employee claimed that the coffee chain is often understaffed, which forces employees to spread themselves too thin. Starbucks demands that we do several tasks at once, so how can I be expected to connect with customers? Another employee told the website, "It's exhausting being the only one on the floor and having to do register and hot bar and customer support." And yet another barista took to Reddit to say they never recommend their job to anyone who suffered from anxiety or depression issues. The stress, even under a good manager, sucks. Under a bad manager, it will literally eat you up and spit you out. Another barista evidently agreed with that assessment. "Some days suck, I'll admit that. Your body will hurt, you will be frazzled, and it will almost always be stressful." Clearly, these baristas aren't made of the same stuff as this guy.
This place really inspired coffee passion in me. It made me see, wow, coffee can be so much more than, here's your latte.
Ask any barista about their least favorite drink on the menu, and you'll probably hear the same thing over and over again.
My sunnin' in the afternoon, soy strawberries and cream frappuccino.
Frappuccinos are definitely a Starbucks staple, but whipping up these treats is allegedly quite the exasperating enterprise for employees. As one barista told New York Magazine, "I used to love frappuccinos, but now I hate them." There's a lot of barista hate against the frappuccino. That's because frappuccinos are reportedly quite time-consuming to make, and that can throw off your work routine if Starbucks is already buzzing and bustling. If you thought those Starbucks sandwiches, pastries, and cakes were made in-house, think again. Many employees have reportedly had to tell customers that all the snacks on display is of the frozen food variety. In a Reddit thread, one employee wrote, "All Starbucks food is reheated frozen food." Ridiculous how little people realize that. Doesn't mean it doesn't taste good. On another Reddit thread, a Starbucks supervisor complained that in the morning, employees thaw out a certain amount of food for the day. We don't have a ton of fridge-freezer space in the back, so we only get so many food items at once. So if your favorite scone or muffin always seems to be out of stock, that could explain why. It's still totally frozen. Believe it or not, some employees believe the relationships they develop with their regular customers is a terrific part of the job. One barista told The Odyssey, "I know I wouldn't have met these wonderful people had it not been for a mutual love of overpriced coffee." According to an employee on Reddit, the feeling is mutual. Regulars reportedly tell baristas that they miss them when they're not around, and some of them even give their favorite baristas Christmas gifts. In an interview with Cosmopolitan, another employee voiced genuine fondness for their regulars. "My favorite part of my job is the customers. I love seeing the light in their faces when they try a new drink and they love it." You want to know something that employees really hate? The idea of a secret menu. That rumored list of drinks baristas can whip up even though they aren't on the official menu. Baristas swear the secret menu isn't even a real thing. One employee told Huffington Post, "Starbucks employees are always happy to customize your drink, but we never know what's in those crazy ones." Meanwhile, another barista wrote on Reddit, "There is no recipe for drinks called a Clint Eastwood, Undertow, Teardrop, or Butterbeer."
May I have a half-calf, decaf, mint mocha latte, foam on the bottom, served in a flower vase, and if y'all got some green food coloring back there, throw it in.
Even if someone invents a tasty drink and slaps a fun name on it, it's highly unlikely that your Starbucks barista knows how to make it, so it's always a good idea to stick to the items you see on the menu. Starbucks is a company known for its excellent employees' benefits, including health coverage, 401k plans, parental leave, and tuition coverage, to name just a few perks. And people who work at Starbucks repeatedly say these benefits really elevate the job. One former barista told Yahoo News, "The one amazing thing I got from working there was my stock in Starbucks. Over 3 years, I made about $400 when I finally sold my share." Aside from benefits, employees are also privy to loads of free stuff, mostly coffee, of course. One former Starbucks employee told Huffington Post that workers receive 1 free drink per shift, and they can even brew free coffee whenever they feel like it. Employees are reportedly allowed to chow down on food that wasn't sold that day, and they can chug any drink beverages that happen to go unclaimed. This employee also confessed, "My friends told me I had to lower my coffee intake because it was getting out of hand." Although parts of the job can be tough, a lot of employees love the sense of teamwork and camaraderie fostered at Starbucks. In order for stores to function properly, it's reportedly essential for employees to learn how to work together.
Being a Starbucks partner means everything to me. It's the connection, the people.
Writing on Quora, one Starbucks employee called her team amazing. They were diverse, they were fun, and they were passionate. We all took ownership in our stores, and when that happens, everyone wins. Another former employee told New York Magazine about the, quote, green apron board at Starbucks, which is essentially a thank you card system. You always find little notes in your spot like, "You kicked ass today," or "I'm so happy I get to work with you."
Jade? Thank you.
There's a very good chance that customer he called Jade was actually named Andrew. Starbucks is notorious for getting your name wrong at the register.
Like this one, this is definitely not how I spell Lissy. Now I'll be scratching my head all day. Yes? That's nice.
When you order your beverage and give your name, an employee writes it down on your cup. But they always manage to muck up your name somehow.
My name's Steven, and every day my coffee cup has my assistant's name on it. What gives?
Employees reportedly have a lot of fun with this. One barista told Cosmopolitan that they intentionally misspell names just to mess with people. I love to see their reactions. The misspellings often get a lot of social media attention, and the same employee said her manager admitted that, quote, most Starbucks employees use it as a marketing tool. Most people aren't going to post a photo to social media of a cup with their name spelled right. Starbucks denied this conspiracy theory to BuzzFeed News, saying, "We've never asked or directed any of our partners to misspell names of our customers for any reason." Many people worry that fast food restaurants aren't as clean as they should be, especially when they're as busy as Starbucks. But employees claim that most locations have extremely high standards when it comes to the cleanliness of the store and the way food is prepared and served. On Reddit, a former Starbucks supervisor said the temperatures of the fridge and food case had to be checked 3 times a day. If either of them were too warm, everything inside was tossed in the garbage. Everything that touched anything edible was sanitized at least once a day. On top of that, the supervisor alleged that the coffee was kept fresh at all times. We kept ground coffee only 12 hours and brewed coffee 30 minutes on timers. In a different Reddit thread, another Starbucks supervisor claimed that customers are prone to leaving a mess behind, but employees tend to be exceedingly clean. Baristas spend a lot of our time cleaning. New hires are shocked by the non-stop cleaning requirements. If being a Starbucks barista sounds overwhelming, that's because it is, especially if you're a brand new hire. In fact, many employees feel like their training was the toughest part of the job. We can't blame them. Can you imagine learning how to make all of those drinks?
Hi, can I get a tall, skinny, half sweet, no foam, extra hot caramel macchiato?
Okay, so tall.
A former Starbucks employee told Huffington Post that new hires go through 2 full weeks of training. That's when they learn how to make every drink on the menu. They even allegedly practice how to do things the wrong way. Why? So they know how to fix mistakes during a rush. As one Starbucks barista wrote on Reddit, some new employees don't even make it through the training period at all. They quit immediately because they took the job for the aesthetic of being a barista. It's not glamorous, it's not beautiful. But if these newbies stick with it, all that training evidently pays off at the end of the day. The former employee told Huffington Post, "Practice makes perfect. And after you spent a few shifts on the bar, it was like second nature."
Chick-fil-A is one of the most popular fast food chains in America, and that's true both with customers and employees, who generally report good experiences from working there. Good vibes aside, though, there are some decidedly unique rules Chick-fil-A workers have to follow. Here are a few of them. When you say thank you after getting your order from a Chick-fil-A employee, you won't hear "you're welcome" in response. You'll actually hear the more formal "my pleasure." This is not necessarily because whatever just occurred was enjoyed by the employee. It's rather because "my pleasure" is the response encouraged by Chick-fil-A. The practice of saying "my pleasure" instead of a "you're welcome" or "no problem" or "sure thing, champ" started when the chain's founder was staying at a Ritz-Carlton hotel. A Ritz-Carlton employee used those 2 fateful words, and he was completely taken with the phrase, which he felt truly elevated his experience. He requested that "my pleasure" be used by employees of Chick-fil-A, and it eventually caught on and continues today. In fact, many former employees reported almost impossible to stop using "my pleasure, even in locations where it's not always required.
Christian even said "my pleasure" as he was changing our tire.
Until a few short years ago, visible tattoos were banned company-wide for Chick-fil-A employees, and workers were required to buy specialty sleeves or other garments that covered any tattoos visible on arms or other body parts. Today, the company has dispensed with an official policy banning visible tattoos, but they are still prohibited at many Chick-fil-A franchise locations. And while not expressly prohibited by overall policy, a look through comments from Chick-fil-A employees on job sites reveal a culture generally opposed to visible ink. That said, many locations are relatively flexible about the unofficial policy, so a tattoo is no reason not to apply for a position working at Chick-fil-A. But if you also have dental or body modifications, or if you wear strong perfumes or excessive makeup, you might want to alter your style before applying to work at the franchise. If you rock a cherished beard or a great goatee, you'll need to look elsewhere than Chick-fil-A for your next job. Chick-fil-A employees are not allowed to have any facial hair beyond a neatly trimmed mustache, such as is permitted by military regulations. A person's mustache must not be wider than his mouth and can't be long and thick, and sideburns also have to be trimmed. And a team member appearance memo from a Chick-fil-A on Fulton Street in New York City goes so far as to dictate that any team member presenting improper facial hair at work, quote, must go buy a razor and shave before being clocked in or be sent home. Many Chick-fil-A team member handbooks contain this rule: false fingernails are not allowed in customer service areas or food preparation areas. So that means, in effect, that false nails can't be worn anywhere at work. And it makes sense for a restaurant to limit something like large acrylic nails that can easily detach and risk falling into a customer's food. Chick-fil-A rules do, however, go beyond state law and do indeed concern style and self-expression. Most locations do not allow any nail polish beyond solid colored polish or a French manicure. It's important to note that Chick-fil-A is not the only restaurant with this policy, because there are health code requirements in many places that relate to the potential of polish chipping during food prep. If you want to work at a Chick-fil-A, you had better either be a very polite person or be able to act like a very polite person for an entire shift multiple days per week. Any lack of friendly positivity is not allowed for a Chick-fil-A employee. The entire corporate culture of Chick-fil-A is built around unflagging politeness, and many employees report that being polite has to start right from your initial job interview. One former Chick-fil-A employee who left a posting regarding the interview process said, "My best advice is to be yourself, be polite, and dress nice." CFA is a customer-oriented company, so make sure you can show them that, saying yes ma'am, yes sir, no thank you, my pleasure, etc. If you work at a Chick-fil-A and you want to get your hair dyed, that's no problem at all, assuming that is you get your hair dyed black, brown, blonde, red, or some variety of these naturally occurring hair colors. That's because unnatural hair dye colors are banned for Chick-fil-A employees. That means no blues, pinks, greens, purples, and so on, even if they are just streaks of color highlighting your natural hair, and easy on the styling too. The ban on hair dye at Chick-fil-A seems to be a product of the company's conservative culture. The reserved style required by the rules of the restaurant may dissuade some people from even applying to work there, while in other cases it may force employees to conceal their own sense of style or even sense of self while at work. For many people, those delicious Chick-fil-A waffle-cut French fries are as much a draw as Chick-fil-A's vaunted chicken sandwiches. And many of those fry lovers would love to get their French fries well done. When you ask for your fries well done, this means fried twice. As in, a Chick-fil-A employee would literally resubmerge your already finished French fries back in hot cooking oil and deep fry them again. This results in a darker, crunchier, and all-around more delightful food. This used to be a favorite semi-secret menu hack for many people. But sadly, employees at many Chick-fil-A restaurants are now banned from giving customers well-done fries, even when asked. The main reason they can no longer give fries well done is simply that refrying French fries takes too long, slowing down progress in the kitchen and slowing fulfillment of orders. Owning and operating a string of fast food restaurants can make you a very wealthy person indeed. If you work hard and you have a spot of good luck, owning one Chick-fil-A franchise can make somewhat flush as well, but you'd better not try to expand your fast food restaurant empire beyond that one location, because that's against the rules. Chick-fil-A franchise owners may only have one Chick-fil-A restaurant at any time, and no other business ventures. This rule forces Chick-fil-A franchisees to put all of their time and energy into their one location, and it also means that no franchisee will develop significant power over the larger chain. So while Chick-fil-A restaurants may be famously affordable, though challenging to acquire, know that you will almost surely not expand beyond one restaurant if you were looking to get into the chicken-centric fast food business. Think working at Panda Express is an easy job? You may rethink your opinion once you find out what goes into it. Constant monitoring, memorization, short breaks. It's a lot more than spooning up orange chicken. If a Panda Express worker wants to slack off in a moment of downtime at the cash register, those who've already worked at the chain would advise rethinking those moments of weakness. According to some employees, the boss is watching. In a Reddit thread asking about expectations for a first day of work at Panda Express, a former employee warned, "Follow the cash handling policies you learn on the video modules they show you. Follow them strictly. They watch the cameras and audit your store when they see violations." The same member also claimed in another Panda Express-centric Reddit, "There are cameras pointed at every workstation, and there are people who sit at a desk and watch every single transaction. And if you have to void something because someone changed their mind or forgot their wallet, it flags you, and the GM has to explain why you had to void." And in a different Reddit discussion on working the cash register, a person associated with the company explained, "The camera shows us what you deleted and who you rung up next. When it shows you have high deletes, it gives out a red flag and we check the cameras to make sure there aren't any incidents like stealing or giving out free food." If there's one thing Panda Express workers seem to all agree on, it's that you better know those food codes by heart if you want to succeed. One Redditor and year-long Panda Express employee advises, "Memorizing the codes beforehand is good, because if you're on the line and don't know the codes, your coworkers are probably gonna be a bit agitated." Then, in a different Reddit conversation seeking advice for a new job at PE, a Panda Express worker emphasized, "Getting to memorize all the food and codes will be super helpful." Another Redditor responded to someone asking for job tips with, "Memorize all the codes for the sides and entrees so you can write them down whenever something is waiting or for the cashier to type it in quicker." Sounds like the unified consensus from Panda employees is that learning the codes relieves a ton of possible at-work stress. While Panda Express is offering more options for vegans and vegetarians lately, there's definitely been times when employees' hands were tied when it came to having vegan or vegetarian offerings for clientele who asked. In a Reddit AMA from a head cook at Panda Express, a commenter asked about what he or she could order from the menu as a legit vegetarian offer. The cook explained, "Unfortunately, aside from our rice, no. More comes down to could there be contamination? In our company's eyes, there is always that risk. So we prefer to say no, there is not, even if it would seem like a vegetarian option." We assume with the increase in people opting for plant-based diets, the Panda Express workers are getting this question a lot these days. One of the most common questions fast food workers get is, do you get free food? In a Quora thread that poses the question of whether employees consume the food at Panda Express, a former worker explains, "Yes, I definitely did when I worked there and will still eat there. The food is good. We would eat some on our breaks and sometimes we were able to take leftovers home." The key word there is breaks, because according to another used-to-be Panda Express employee on Quora, "We are offered a free meal during our shifts. Depending on your schedule, if you signed the waiver, you would only get one 10-minute break for every 6-hour shift you worked. Since 10 minutes is such a short amount of time for a break, they offered free food." It's not often you hear about fast food employees earning bonuses, but this is apparently one of the upsides to being a Panda Express worker. A Quora user wrote, "When I worked for Panda, we received bonuses every 3 months. The amount you got depended on how many hours you work per week and how well the store does quarterly." The user went on to reveal that the bonuses aren't measly either, saying, "I have never received a bonus worth less than $100. This is in addition to other perks, such as free food and drinks from other dining establishments, plus opportunities for salary increases and promotions." It's clear that easy access to a lot of orange chicken is not the only benefit to manning the walks at Panda Express.
Sky is the limit.
Ever wonder how Panda Express manages to get those vegetables so soft and easy to chew? The behind-the-scenes crew learns the ins and outs pretty quickly once they're up and running at their designated Panda location of employment. A Quora user answered an inquiry regarding how Panda Express cooks their famous vegetables, saying it's all about the step just prior to sautéing the veggies. The purported Panda Express shift leader explains, "They boil the vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, and kale for about a minute, and they toss it into the wok. I recently learned how to make the veggies." It all makes sense now. You work at Panda Express and you learn a very simple trick for bringing your stir-fry to the next level at home. Serving spoons and tongs are obviously a big part of working at Panda Express. Since it's more of an assembly line style of fast food, the workers have to brace for hungry customers watching their every move as they prepare those plates or takeout containers full of delicious Chinese fare. So it's no surprise that learning how to properly use the big utensils that retrieve the food from bins and woks is paramount to success as a Panda Express worker. A Redditor giving advice to a new addition to the Panda Express team says, "I always cringe at how new employees hold the spoon and tongs and everything, but you only improve as time goes by." The Panda Express employee continues, "Make sure to follow SSSP, stir, serve, stir, place, with the spoon placed having the bowl part touching the upper left side and the handle resting against the bottom part of the right dish handle. It's all about appearance at Panda." Pretty much anything is fair game on TikTok, so it's fascinating to see what goes viral there. When a woman working at Panda Express decided to make a TikTok video giving a play-by-play of how the orange chicken is made at everyone's favorite Chinese food drive-thru and mall staple, the internet lost its mind. The video, which entails the worker stirring garlic in a sizzling hot pan and ladling the special sauce before tossing in a vat of fried chicken pieces, has, as of October 2021, garnered over 3,700 shares and over 2,500 comments. What we can all learn here is, Panda Express workers not only know how to make cooking at a fast food restaurant seem fun, they also definitely don't feel creatively stifled on the job. This woman not only handles orange sauce like a total pro, she also seems to have fun while doing it. Customers should always be kind to those preparing and serving their fast food. Not only is it the right thing to do, but at Panda Express, it may pay off. A Reddit thread notes that Panda Express employees really do incentivize customers to be friendly.
Treat every guest like your family member that's coming in.
According to an assistant manager answering a question about Panda Express hacks, ask politely. Everyone that I work with agrees that if a customer comes in acting nicely, we tend to give extra. I give discounts, usually half off, depending on how polite you are 10 minutes before we close. So maybe swing through a half hour before closing time if you want to get lucky. In another Reddit AMA, the Panda Express employee said they didn't mind giving multiple samples to polite customers. The employee went on to say, "One major thing I learned by working at fast food restaurants is to always be nice to people who are serving you. If you are nice, your order is less likely to be screwed up, and that is just showing respect. It pays to be nice." In more samples of Kung Pao chicken and a cheaper final tally.
Man, we got a great place. Let's rock and roll.
For the most part, Panda Express prides itself on really fresh food. However, a few of its employees have indicated that certain select items do regularly get nuked in the microwave. In a Reddit exchange, 2 Panda Express workers confirmed in separate comments that Mandarin chicken is microwaved. Then, in a Panda server's Reddit AMA thread, the server confirms, "The food that is saved for the next day if there are leftovers is Mandarin chicken. We microwave this, steamed rice, and barbecue pork. All the rest the cooks will serve fresh." There's a lot to pick from on the menu at Panda Express. There's also the question of what damage you're willing to do calorie-wise. There are certainly some things on the menu that are lighter. It turns out, the employees serving up the goods might be able to offer some prime Panda pairing options. They tend to learn exactly what goes best with what. If you're going to get one of the 3 healthier chicken entrees, Kung Pao chicken, mushroom chicken, or black pepper chicken, it's best to pair them with teriyaki and broccoli beef, and steamed brown or white rice, according to one Quora user. And apparently, the sweeter flavored chicken dishes tend to taste better alongside chow mein and fried rice. At some popular chain restaurants, a lot of the food isn't as fresh as you might think, so the employees don't get to see the whole process for how they're made. However, at Panda Express, the workers get a first-hand glimpse into how most of the dishes are prepared before they hit the assembly line. As a Quora user who served as a cashier at Panda Express explains, "I got to see how some of the entrees are made. There's a lot, and I mean a lot of sugar involved, so be careful. Your brain may crave orange chicken more and more the more you eat it." So when a Panda Express worker sees a row of bins and woks full of steaming Chinese food, they likely also see all the sugar that went into making the delicious grub.
Have you ever dug into your country fried breakfast and wondered what it's like to work at Cracker Barrel? From what goes on in the kitchen to how often they get breaks, former and current employees have spilled the sweet tea on what really goes down in the restaurant. Cracker Barrel prides itself on its food, but considering they sell mixes and ready-made food, you might wonder how much of their menu is really made fresh each day in the restaurant. According to one Reddit user who claims to work for one of the top Cracker Barrel restaurants in the country, scratch-made food is still the norm. In a Reddit AMA, the employee revealed that the prep cook and backup cook come in at 5:30 a.m. each day to start making staples like the biscuits, cornbread, gravy, and fruit bowls. There are some ingredients, however, that arrive pre-made, but the cooks are still responsible for the final product. According to another Redditor, who claims to be a line cook at Cracker Barrel, the roux for the gravy comes pre-made and, quote, "we just add milk and heat till it thickens." If you've ever been inside of one of the 600-plus Cracker Barrel restaurants in the U.S., you might have wondered about the stars the employees sport on their aprons. Some have just one, while others have several. It turns out they aren't just for decoration. According to one Redditor who claims to be an employee training coordinator at Cracker Barrel, the stars represent how long an employee has been with the company, as well as their skills and progress. They say employees are rising stars for the first 30 days of employment, and in order to earn their first star, new employees must take tests about their position and have their performance evaluated by managers. If they pass, they get their first star. The max number of stars is 4, and quote, each star comes with new responsibilities, opportunities, and benefits. It's no secret that many people go to Cracker Barrel for the retail experience too. But just how popular is it? Very, according to a Redditor who claims to be a Cracker Barrel host. Some people don't even bother eating, but don't call it a gift shop. The user asserts, "It isn't a gift shop, it's the retail section of our store, and it actually sells pretty well." One lady bought 14 candles one day. If you think working at a restaurant where people also come to shop is strange, consider that some people come solely for the rocking chairs and a friendly game of checkers or the peg game. The host revealed, quote, "The rocking chairs are arguably more popular than the food." You'd think that breaks would be essential, but unfortunately, to hear some former employees tell it, that just isn't the case. Reviews on Glassdoor suggest breaks of any kind are hard to come by. One former Cracker Barrel host revealed that the cons of the job include, quote, "no breaks, no free food, no bathroom breaks if working alone." This apparently is the case for virtually any position at Cracker Barrel, as Glassdoor reviews from employees ranging from front-of-house servers and hosts to back-of-house grill cooks and dishwashers noted that breaks are pretty much non-existent.
I don't understand. Is anyone hurt?
Not on the surface, no, but I can tell people are disturbed.
Reviews citing no breaks as a problem at Cracker Barrel go back to 2013 on Glassdoor. So one would hope the company would have resolved it by now, but the most recent reviews citing the same problem are from 2019. Former employees are still talking about Cracker Barrel's apparent reluctance to give out breaks, and that's a shame because those rocking chairs and a coffee would look mighty tempting after hours on your feet. Like many retail establishments, Cracker Barrel deals with its share of theft. So what's a Cracker Barrel employee to do if they suspect someone is stealing from the retail store or they're going to dine and dash? It turns out, not much of anything. According to one Redditor, Cracker Barrel employees aren't allowed to do anything if they suspect someone is bouncing the check or stealing from retail. We can call the police, but we can't approach the suspected thief and say, "Sir, are you stealing?" That creates tension in the store and doesn't appear hospitable. While this may seem like extreme hospitality, University of Florida professor Richard Hollinger, who specializes in loss prevention, explains what's going on like this. Cameras, electronic article surveillance, and security are the antithesis of the Cracker Barrel atmosphere. They treat their customers like neighbors. Neighbors watch out for each other and trust each other. At Cracker Barrel, discounted food is one of the appeals of the job, but you can only get it at certain times. One alleged Cracker Barrel server shared on Reddit, "We get a meal 50% off 30 minutes before or after our shift." According to the official employer summary on Glassdoor, Cracker Barrel also offers retail store discounts, quote, at 50% per scheduled shift. Current and former employees on Glassdoor noted some discounts are available even if you aren't scheduled for a shift on a particular day. But the amount is determined by your promotion level and ranges from 0 to 35%. The Redditor did note one caveat that makes those late-night shifts worth it, saying, "If you close, you can get some leftovers and all-you-can-eat biscuits and cornbread. Bonus!"
If you've ever been to a Five Guys, you've likely noticed there aren't in fact 5 guys working at every location. Instead, there's many employees working at nearly 1,500 locations. This is what it's really like to be a Five Guys worker, according to past and current employees. Five Guys is famous for its fries. The sacks of potatoes are piled in the store for all to see. One Five Guys worker described the ideal Five Guys fry on Reddit, saying, "They're supposed to be firm and taste like mashed potatoes." Yet, according to a different former Five Guys employee, all the special qualifications of the fries mean nothing if the wrong person is manning the fry station. The employee said, "If the person on the fry station doesn't know what he is doing, they will come out terrible and inconsistent." They added that, quote, "Even veteran workers over or undercook the fries sometimes. Then there's the problem of leaving fries under the heat lamp for too long, which makes them soggy, or the issue of a worker who has a heavy hand with the salt." It all comes down to one telling statement from that former employee who said, "The fries have the potential to be good if the person making them knows what he is doing." While Five Guys offers up big barrels of free peanuts, and you might spot someone throwing a shell or two, the chain isn't supposed to have a shell-covered floor. A former Five Guys worker said that working the house shift means cleaning all of the customer messes on and around the tables. In their words, it's a, quote, terrible duty, and they added, "It's not rewarding because there is always a mess." This wouldn't be a problem if there were no free peanuts, but the snack is part of the brand. While Five Guys doesn't explicitly list why it offers free peanuts, a former employee offered one potential reason on Quora. He explained that the food at Five Guys takes a little longer to make than other fast food burgers, and the peanuts keep customers occupied with something to eat while they wait. Another former employee said the peanuts distract the customers so they won't stare at the employees making food. Continuing with the peanut theme, the signs posted inside Five Guys restaurants make it clear that peanuts are meant to be eaten on location and not taken outside. Five Guys doesn't let people take peanuts because despite the low probability of someone getting an allergic reaction from a casual encounter, Five Guys, quote, wants to limit the risk of someone unknowingly coming into contact with peanuts. However, exactly how strict the peanut policy is might depend on the location. A former Five Guys worker said, "I regularly scold customers that try to take peanuts outside, since it says not to take them on the front door and on the box of peanuts itself." Many employees and former workers reported various levels of enforcement. One said it's up to the owner and general manager to decide, and that his location sold peanuts and peanut oil to customers, as well as let people take a small bag home because pleasing customers is more important. A former manager said that people aren't technically allowed to take them out of the store because of liability issues, but she said, depending on the manager, you can usually ask for a small bag and take some home for free. At first glance, the Five Guys menu seems pretty straightforward. There's the option for a hamburger, cheeseburger, bacon burger, or bacon cheeseburger, all with 2 patties, or the choice of a little version that only has 1 patty. While it's not quite like specialty orders at Starbucks,
8 double tall lattes, 1 with no foam, 5 iced venti decaf percent lattes with a long straw, 4 caramel macchiatos, double up on the cup.
things can still get a little crazy at Five Guys with all the free toppings. There are 15 free toppings listed on the Five Guys menu, ranging from basic ingredients like lettuce and mayo to the somewhat more adventurous like barbecue sauce, malt vinegar, hot sauce, and A1 sauce. That leaves a lot of room for customized special orders, and no one knows special orders better than the people making the food. One Five Guys worker said that the most delicious and, quote, ridiculous special order burger is a little bacon cheeseburger on a grilled cheese with a hot dog inside, as well as the burger patty. To make it even more extra, the worker adds lettuce, pickles, jalapenos, ketchup, and mustard. It's not always that complicated, though. Another worker said their usual special order is bacon cheeseburger with extra cheese, extra bacon, double extra lettuce, and double extra grilled onions. What really sets it apart is that everything is in a bowl rather than squeezed between 2 pieces of bread. The bowls at Five Guys involve no actual bowls, though. Instead, all the ingredients are wrapped in foil, sans bun. Pretty much everyone loves to be in on a secret, but at Five Guys, there isn't a true secret menu that's universally recognized by employees. A Five Guys worker confessed that if you order off a supposed secret menu at Five Guys, you'll likely be met with a blank stare. One time, for example, that worker was asked for a presidential burger made famous by President Barack Obama from the secret menu. Not knowing what that consists of, the employee asked what was in it. Turned out, the customer wasn't all that sure either, which put the staff in a tough spot because, according to the employee, we can't pull out our phones on the line and look up secret menu items. The lack of a secret menu hasn't stopped some people from trying to will one into existence, however. There's a lot of potential due to all of the free toppings, and even if some favorite orders lack a catchy, recognizable name, there are plenty of combinations that work. You just need to know how to properly order them. For example, if you want a patty melt, order a grilled cheese and then add a patty and any toppings you want. That presidential burger that caused some confusion is better understood when ordered as a cheeseburger with lettuce, tomatoes, jalapenos, and mustard. Everyone deserves equal pay for equal work. Five Guys, regrettably, does not have a perfect record when it comes to making sure that's the case. In 2018, a case was brought against the fast food chain that stated Five Guys paid its female managers less than its male managers.
Women make up about half our workforce, but they still make 77 cents for every dollar a man earns. That is wrong.
The suit claimed that Five Guys violated the Equal Pay Act, and a former employee claimed she made $5,000 less as an assistant manager than the male assistant manager she trained. Additionally, she apparently made $2,000 less than the male general managers after she was promoted. The judge ruled in favor of the employee and another woman who accused Five Guys of violating the Equal Pay Act. Other blights on the Five Guys record include a claim in 2012 in San Diego that workers were denied breaks and overtime. In 2013 and 2014, a manager at one of the chain's locations reportedly mocked and then fired an employee with HIV in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act, according to Ocala.com. These are just a few of the scandals brought up by Five Guys workers that have plagued the company over the years. Timers make working in the kitchen easier. It's not hard to stay consistent, after all, when everything is cooked for a set amount of time on the same machine. Five Guys kitchens buck the timers, though. That means, as one former employee wrote on Reddit, you essentially have to learn how to cook. Jerry Morrell, the founder of Five Guys, told NBC that there's a simple reason for the lack of timers. He said, "Good cooks know when the food's done." It's just one of the ways that Five Guys trusts its workers to do more than set it and forget it. Fries are shaken exactly 15 times, for example, and the onion and bacon go below the patty while pickles and tomatoes go on top. One of the things that makes the no-timer rule a little easier on Five Guys workers is that the patties are thin, which was a choice Five Guys made early on in the company's existence. Burgers started out thicker, but they got dry because they have to be cooked for longer. The thin burgers make it easy to achieve the right texture and doneness. Plus, they're easier for workers to learn how to cook. To keep the burgers just as filling as one larger patty, 2 patties are put on the standard burgers. If you want a single, go for the little burgers. The one person all Five Guys workers have to keep an eye out for is someone they don't even know the appearance of. Secret shoppers are a big deal at Five Guys. One worker said secret shopper feedback makes it to the store every time, and employees are listed by name in the reports. In some regions, Five Guys rewards the locations that score the highest secret shopper average per quarter with a bonus. One secret shopper posted on Reddit that they have worked at various Five Guys locations about 50 times. For that person, Five Guys is the easiest restaurant around when it comes to evaluations, but that might be because employees have learned to spot secret shopper patterns. Employees admitted that there are certain ticks they're taught to look out for because the secret shopper scores really matter. One is ordering a shake with 2 to 3 flavors along with their burger and fries. Another is to watch for customers who are making eye contact with the employees, especially if that person came to the restaurant alone and double checks that the condiment station is full. And though there may not be timers in the kitchens, secret shoppers often have them. It's a lot for a worker to keep track of to make sure there aren't any slip-ups. If you've ever ordered fries at Five Guys, then there's a good chance you're familiar with a bunch of extra fries thrown in your bag of food. This isn't a case of employees hooking their favorite customers up. The extra scoop is standard policy to make people think they're getting a bargain. But it can be a point of contention for some workers, and some customers complain that it's simply too many fries to enjoy, and they'd rather just have a cheaper meal. The amount of waste is one aspect of the fry policy that can get on an employee's nerves. One Five Guys worker posted on Reddit that the majority of people get a little or regular fry. Still, some kids come in and insist on ordering a large fry for themselves. The worker added, "That's enough fries for 3 adults." The employee also explained, "It's a waste of money, waste of product, and the kid is already starting to make unhealthy life decisions. Really gets under my skin." Other employees have said that they've had customers fend off any issues before they get their order. Customers who aren't regulars are not aware of how many fries come with each order. One former employee said, "A lot of people actually ask me not to fill the bags because they get oily and rip." Five Guys has a college tuition assistance program to help workers achieve their education goals. The company has a limit on who can join in, so it's not as generous as Chipotle's well-known college reimbursement program that's available to all workers after a set employment length. On the company website, Five Guys notes that only Five Guys Enterprise and Five Guys Operations employees are eligible for college aid. For those employees, Five Guys has partnered with Guild Education to enroll workers in high school and college degree programs. Each is designed to be easy to complete for adults who work full-time and are done at accredited nonprofit universities. For those interested in a degree in business administration, hospitality management, or finance, Five Guys offers 100% tuition coverage, as well as up to $5,250 per year for other select degrees. College isn't in the books for everyone, though. There is, however, always the benefit of free and discounted food. The free or discounted meals can be one of the biggest pros of working at Five Guys. One employee said that free food is the main and only benefit of working at the chain.
What happens if an employee is caught at Taco Bell while off-duty? Is it true that the chain has rules about its hats? And when does the restaurant actually close? Answers to these questions and more are coming up shortly. If Taco Bell employees use their discount to buy food, they have to stay at the restaurant during their lunch break. Employees are actually free to leave during their lunch if they consume food they've gotten elsewhere, but if they happen to stock up on a few burritos and nacho fries from their own franchise, they must consume them in-store. According to Inc., the company's logic is that it doesn't want its servers using their employee discounts to buy food for others. Making their employees dine in is an attempt to mitigate what they see as a potentially costly loophole. Several Taco Bell team members weren't happy with the change. They felt it was unfair that they were forced to stay on the premises if they weren't being paid for it. Regardless, Taco Bell ended up winning the approval of the Ninth Circuit Court, according to a decision posted by Bloomberg Law. Taco Bell's Restaurant Support Center also has a strange rule about what its staff can and can't do during their lunch breaks. A Taco Bell employee stated on Reddit that staff members at the franchise's Restaurant Support Center weren't allowed to bring in any food from competitors or they would be, quote, disciplined. The employee also said that the best part was that after lunch, the trash cans outside of the building were always filled with trash from competitors anyway.
But you already know what you want from Taco Bell. You always have. So don't eat like me. Eat like you.
So despite the rules, staffers clearly got around it by eating their lunches outside of the building rather than at their desks. If you're a frequent customer of the Taco Bell drive-thru, you might claim to see differences between the same order put in at different franchise locations, but that's not necessarily the case given how the restaurant manages its ingredients. Every item at Taco Bell is actually weighed on a scale. If the weight is even tenths of an ounce off the target weight, the employees are supposed to throw the item out and start over. A Taco Bell manager writing for Thrillist explained that if a soft taco goes on the digital scale, it is supposed to weigh 1.6 ounces. Yes, exactly, the manager added. We all train with a scale, and we have to get used to doling out the ingredients precisely in order to make everything the correct weight in the end. It's very hard to get that right. When it comes to rolling burritos, one Taco Bell employee on Reddit says there's an artful technique taught in training. The employee was asked why at some locations the contents are evenly distributed in burritos and in other items they're not. The worker explained that they're taught to fold items like an H so customers get more of an even bite of everything inside the burrito. Now, what about those items that aren't an even mix? Apparently, it's due to employees folding their items in a less than ideal I shape. This means that when it comes time to fold up the burrito, the process simply doesn't spread out the ingredients in the same way. So it stands that some managers may implement that H-shaped burrito rolling rule, finicky as it may seem, to keep customers happy. According to a 2015 Taco Bell employee handbook, the restaurant's workers aren't actually allowed to spend any time at Taco Bell when they're not on shift. Specifically, the handbook states that employees can't hang around their Taco Bell location inside the restaurant, in the parking lot, or on company property when they're not working. The wording doesn't make it entirely clear whether or not employees can run through the drive-thru on their day off to grab a meal, but it could be assumed that it's not strictly approved either. Another brave Taco Bell employee took to Reddit to answer the internet's most burning questions about the fast food chain. They revealed that regardless of an item's condition, the employees are not supposed to remake any food without a receipt. That doesn't mean everyone follows that rule. That particular Taco Bell worker would just remake someone's order if it was made incorrectly, or even give out free drinks or desserts if the contents of a to-go bag were less than satisfactory. But don't expect that at every Taco Bell location you visit. Just to be safe, remember to hold on to your receipt until you've scarfed down the whole meal. Sometimes when you order Taco Bell, the number of hot sauce packets a worker throws in your bag will vary. According to one Taco Bell manager, employees are told to only give out one sauce pack per item. But the twist comes when people ask for a handful or a lot. As you may guess, that doesn't equal a specific number. So when a location is slammed and the workers are expected to get orders out as fast as possible, some employees opt to give plenty of packets to avoid any potentially disastrous holdups at the counter or drive-thru window. Taco Bell is synonymous with many things, and supremely satisfying food after a night out is surely one of those. Therefore, it's always a popular late-night spot for people in need of a whole lot of meat, cheese, and carbs on a budget. According to a Taco Bell manager on the Taco Bell subreddit, the inevitable late-night rush can sometimes determine the exact time employees finally get to clock out of their shift. At some locations, if the staff makes $75 or more in the hour before closing, they have to stay open an extra 30 minutes. Taco Bell often gets super busy after midnight, so it makes sense that they'd accept those orders past closing time if the line is still wrapped around the building. As with many fast food establishments, the uniform worn by Taco Bell employees is all important. According to an employee on Indeed, even the Taco Bell hat is meant to be worn a particular way. One questioner asked if Taco Bell allowed its employees to switch up the way they wear the hat. An employee wrote on Indeed, "There is one specific way to wear the hat with the bill to the front. Taco Bell is quite strict in its uniform policies." For most managers, then, even the matter of an employee's hat angle simply isn't up for debate.
For people who work at Popeyes, it's not all chicken sandwich chaos. In fact, the job actually has a few perks among the stressful parts. Straight from Popeyes employees, here's what it's like to work for one of the biggest names in fast food chicken. It's pretty much a given that if you work in the fast food business, you're going to be on your feet for several hours. Popeyes employees can expect the occasional crowds during the lunch and dinner rushes, and the introduction of the chicken sandwich has only amplified that. The chicken sandwich has been nothing short of exhausting for employees, and getting a break is almost unheard of. Popeyes manager Wanda Lavender told Vox that she stands for 10 to 12 hours a day and that her legs are still numb from the work and that she hasn't recovered. Lavender's experience is hardly the exception. According to Business Insider, some Popeyes employees were pulling 60-hour weeks to meet the public's chicken sandwich demands. Even before the chicken sandwich craze, work at Popeyes was no walk in the park. A high school-age employee posted on Reddit that they would work until 1 a.m. before getting up at the crack of dawn for school. Obviously, comfortable shoes are a must with this job. The low pay for fast food employees has been a hot topic of debate for years, and Popeyes isn't an exception when it comes to the wages its employees earn. According to Indeed, the average hourly wage for a Popeyes crew member is about $9.50 per hour. That may be a little more than the United States federal minimum wage of $7.25 per hour, but many employees still feel it's hardly equal to the work that they do. Fran Marion, a single mother of 2 children and a Popeyes employee in Kansas City, Missouri, told The Guardian that despite working 6 days a week and a second job, she struggles to provide for her family. As she described it, "It makes me feel like a peasant. In a way, it's slavery. It's economic slavery." Popeyes managers do earn a little more at an average of $12.93 per hour, but even working 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, that's an annual salary below $26,000. According to Popeyes' website, the company does offer certain benefits such as education assistance, a 401k, and cash awards on employment anniversaries. Despite the company having a score of 2.8 out of 5 on Indeed in the pay category, it has an overall score of 3.5 stars out of 5.
People were advocating for people who work at Popeyes saying, okay, great, now that you've had the success with the chicken, with the sandwiches, now pay your employees more and treat them better.
Anybody who has ever worked in fast food will probably tell you that it can be a very tiring job. In addition to the long hours and low pay, employees also have to deal with their fair share of rude customers. The demand for Popeyes chicken sandwich has brought with it numerous incidents of hostile customer behavior. Popeyes manager Wanda Lavender told Vox that when the chicken sandwich first rolled out in August 2018, one disgruntled customer threatened to shoot the staff over the sandwich. Another employee told Business Insider, "I had an instance where a customer was threatening to assault me when I was taking out trash." Similar incidents have happened at other locations. Police in Houston, Texas responded to a call that a drive-thru customer brandished a gun when told that there were no more sandwiches. The sandwich was briefly taken off the menu and Popeyes couldn't keep up with demand. But when it came back, the rude customers returned along with it. A man in Harlem, New York was captured on video berating employees because they weren't making the sandwiches fast enough. Working with the public isn't always easy, and at Popeyes, it can be downright dangerous.
People are getting stabbed over a chicken sandwich? I guess it really is healthier to be vegan. Wow!
With the long hours, low pay, and occasional rude customers, it should come as no surprise that some Popeyes employees quit on the spot. People can only be pushed so far before they reach their breaking point, and the chicken sandwich madness has ushered in that breaking point for numerous Popeyes workers. One crew member in Orange County, California told Business Insider, "Everyone wanted to quit so bad because it was that bad. We have never seen it get this insanely busy." Another employee at a New Jersey restaurant said that she abruptly quit right in the middle of putting together 2 sandwiches for customers. Manager Wanda Lavender told Vox that she too has had employees quit on the spot because the job just became too stressful to handle. While some Popeyes employees may decide to take their chances and look for another job, quitting isn't an option for others such as Lavender, who has 6 children to care for. As she told Vox, "I'm not doing this just for kicks." If you're in need of a job quick and live close to a Popeyes, it might be a viable place to put in an application. Considering the hectic pace of the job, it's probably not all that surprising that the company doesn't require potential employees to jump through too many hoops. Popeyes General Manager Jordan Suriano says that if you can get an interview, then you'll likely get the job. As he put it, if you don't get a call back after submitting an application, call to check up on the status of your application and let them know you are still interested. A Popeyes employee on Indeed basically backed up Suriano's tip and said that after applying online and having an interview, the restaurant called back and offered the job over the phone. When it comes to getting a job in the Popeyes corporate offices at parent company Restaurant Brands International, though, that can be a little trickier. According to Garrison Shen, who spent a summer interning at Popeyes, for the corporate office, it has become a very competitive process, as now applicants have to apply to Restaurant Brands International. It is a very long process with 3 rounds of interviews and a super day. Employees in the fast food industry tend to arrive fast and leave fast. According to CNBC, turnover in the restaurant industry is around 130% a year, largely because fast food jobs aren't particularly desirable for many of the reasons already mentioned. But not all of those workers are quitting. Chronic tardiness or simply not doing the required work will get a person fired in any job, but Popeyes employees have been fired for a whole range of reasons. In 2015, a Popeyes worker claimed that she was fired after refusing to pay back money that was stolen during an armed robbery.
After the gunman left, she was given 2 choices: pay up or get out.
And in August 2019, Popeyes canned employees for putting too much cayenne pepper in the store's chicken sandwiches. Perhaps the most eyebrow-raising example of Popeyes employees getting the axe was revealed by a former restaurant manager on Reddit. According to the manager, several months after the location opened, a regional supervisor told him, "Tomorrow an RV will be parked in the parking lot when you arrive. Send each employee out to take a polygraph before they clock in. Tell them, we're not looking for food theft. If you gave away food or ate food without paying for it, just admit it so you don't get tagged as deceptive. We're looking for somebody who stole money." The manager suspected that a real polygraph wasn't actually used, but regardless, half the store's employees were fired because of the ruse. Popeyes is famous for its fried chicken, and one perk of the job is that employees may get a free helping of that chicken while on their shift. One employee on Quora claimed that if a manager is, quote, chill enough, then they might allow 5-minute breaks for employees to eat whatever they want. While some employees on Glassdoor backed up this claim, others contradicted it and said that they were only given a discount on select items while working their shift. Even if employees are getting some free food, that complimentary fried chicken can get old pretty quick when the smell follows you home. If you're knee-deep in fried chicken for hours at a time, that stench is going to stick to you, and it won't be long before your car starts to smell like the Popeyes kitchen. One employee confessed on Reddit, "Oh my god, you would not believe the amount of air fresheners I go through just to try and keep the smell of chicken, sweat, and my bad life decisions away." When the Popeyes chicken sandwich returned in November of 2019, Popeyes foot traffic was reportedly 300% above normal, and even higher than when the sandwich initially launched. However, what's good for Popeyes as a whole hasn't necessarily trickled down to the employees assembling the sandwiches. Popeyes employee Wanda Lavender put it this way: "The corporation made all this money, millions, off of these sandwiches. But where's our cut? Where is our appreciation? Where is our thank you? We made 5,000 sandwiches just in Wisconsin and sold every single one of them." Fran Marion is another employee who had thoughts to share about the discrepancy.
It's time for us to stand up and band together and fight for what we deserve. It's united we stand or divided we fall.
When Business Insider asked Popeyes CEO Jose Sill about the overworked fast food employees, he said it was a tough week for crew members around the country, adding, "They've worked really hard, and actually the success that we've seen with the launch of the chicken sandwich is really a success that's been driven by our franchise partners as well as our team members and the restaurants." That may be a verbal show of appreciation, but many Popeyes workers would likely prefer a monetary one. As one employee told Business Insider, "The added demand increased the amount of work tenfold, while I still get paid next to nothing." The slam of the chicken sandwich will subside eventually, or at least that's what Popeyes employees are undoubtedly hoping for. After that, it'll be back to business as usual. But that doesn't mean that Popeyes doesn't experience other busy times. The same way that Long John Silver's gets busy around Lent, Popeyes locations in the New Orleans area get slammed with customers every February when Mardi Gras rolls around. It's not unusual for Popeyes locations to serve as much as 40 tons of red beans and rice, 1.5 million pieces of chicken, and over 1 million biscuits throughout the 12-day Mardi Gras celebration. To keep up with that demand, the restaurants must hire extra staff and extend their normal business hours to nearly 24 hours a day in order to meet customers' needs as they head to and from various Mardi Gras events. Had Popeyes rolled out its chicken sandwich during Mardi Gras, it may have simply been too much for the staff to handle. Working at Popeyes for the long haul obviously isn't going to be the right path for every employee. But for those who can hang in, there are opportunities to move up through the ranks of the organization. Employees on Indeed have voiced concerns about morale problems caused by changes in management, while also mentioning the possibility of moving up after working hard. But they also noted that climbing the ladder gets more difficult after reaching the role of assistant manager. To be fair, ascending to the top of any organization is almost always going to be difficult, but it is possible. Just ask Popeye's Vice President of Operations, Dwayne Fontenette, who moved up to his current position after he landed his first job out of high school in 1984 at a local Popeyes. It's a long way to the top if you want to call the shots at Popeyes.
God bless you, God bless the United States of America, and God bless chicken sandwiches.
Most people have eaten at KFC at least once in their life and have probably seen hundreds of their ads on TV. But have you ever thought about what it's actually like working for Colonel Sanders? Keep watching to find out. In a TikTok video, a KFC employee spilled the secret on how KFC makes some of its food, and it turns out there's more actual cooking involved than you might think. The video shows an employee making KFC gravy by whisking together bits of excess fried chicken, water, and a spice packet. The video also shows how KFC's crispy strips are hand-floured and breaded and then deep-fried in store. That's a far cry from the frozen, already fried chicken strips you might expect from a fast food joint. The video led to some mixed reactions, with some people being disgusted and others gaining more respect for KFC's food. No matter the meal, making food is almost certainly a mess. That's even more true when you're talking about cooking massive amounts of chicken that needs to be floured, spiced, and fried all day. In response to a question in a KFC Reddit thread asking workers what's the one thing they don't like about working at the joint, the first response was the messy nature of being a fry cook. As one person responded, "Flour all over you, grease all over you. I would take a shower with my clothes on so I didn't wake up my roommate with the washing machine every time I worked." The mess is more than just a hygiene thing for some workers. A recently hired employee posted on Reddit that they have celiac and were wondering if they would be fine despite all the flour in the air. In response, a former employee said, "People used to wear face masks because the density of flour in the air made it hard to breathe."
Chicken with fries, please.
Chicken with fries. Chicken with fries, please, mate. Chicken with fries.
There are rush hours and there are random rushes when working at KFC. That's just part of the job, and that's true for many people in the restaurant and fast food industry. Yet it doesn't take much to overwhelm the system when your employer has multiple deals that cater to large gatherings. When a mass of people come in and orders are put through for fried chicken, the chicken all gets put in the cookers at once, and when they finish, they all come out at once. And the manager is getting pissed because you're unable to rack up 200 wicked wings in the span of 2 minutes. Some people can't hang under pressure either, which just makes the situation worse, as you can imagine. Another employee posted in the same thread that when people put in, quote, ridiculously larger orders, as in anything over $70, a few of my coworkers become way too stressed out and panicked over an order taking a bit too long to be served out. If you want to be a good customer and help out with the flow of things, as well as get the freshest chicken possible, one former employee left some advice on Reddit. If you have a big order, order ahead of time, as they will usually cook a dedicated batch.
What do we do about the bones? We do this. This is what we do.
There's no disputing that food waste is bad. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Americans waste between 30 and 40% of the food supply due to spoilage, equipment malfunction, and over-ordering. One other major issue added to the problem: consumers also contribute to food loss when they buy or cook more than they need and choose to throw out the extras. Some KFC employees have seen food waste issues at their locations firsthand. On a Reddit post about things that bothered the poster about the ethics of KFC, food waste was at the top of the list. The poster wrote, "I just want to know how other people feel about the ridiculous amount of chicken that goes in the bin every single day." The responses to their question were mixed, with some noting that they've seen similar waste issues while working at places like Subway and Burger King. Extra chicken isn't always wasted, depending on the location and how lenient the manager is. One former worker noted that if they worked past closing time, then employees had the chance to take home the leftovers that would normally be thrown out. When the drinks really start to set in after a long night out, nothing is better than hot, greasy fried chicken that you don't have to cook yourself. So maybe it shouldn't come as a surprise that employees have to deal with their fair share of intoxicated customers. It happens enough for there to be plenty of memes about eating KFC while in an altered state of mind. Or as a user posted in the Shower Thoughts subreddit, a chicken was hatched, raised in captivity, butchered and processed, distributed and cooked so that I could drop it on the sidewalk walking home drunk from KFC. It's not just the normal suspects who get the drunchies cravings for KFC either. Case in point, the New Zealand mayor who was caught drunk driving for a quick KFC pit stop. Long story short, if you're working at a fast food joint that sells the very comfort food that people crave after drinking a few too many, you're going to need a lot of patience. While it's surely possible for some to work up through the rankings and earn a good living in manager or corporate positions at KFC, others are working at the fast food chain as more of a way to make some money until they move on to the next period of their career or education. KFC offers a tuition initiative called the Reach Educational Grant Program to help employees at participating KFC US restaurants pursue their dreams of going to college. The program is relatively open for multiple uses. Employees of any age, any position, pursuing any degree can receive money to help them attend the accredited 4-year or 2-year college of their choice. The money can also be used at trade/vocational schools and for graduate study. KFC won't pay for the entirety of your schooling, but the money can help. On Reddit's KFC subreddit, a confused drive-thru customer came looking for an answer to what they described as a quote, weird request from the drive-thru employee. She asked me to back all the way up and then pull forward again because they're on a timer. According to one responder, the employees needed to improve their drive-thru order completion times, and having the person roll through twice was serving 2 people quickly rather than 1 person slowly.
My diet is ruined! I hope you're happy. Okay. 2 Renaissance wraps, no mayo, chili rings.
I'll have the medieval meal.
KFC employees have also posted about the struggles of working on the drive-thru. One noted that the drive-thru is only faster than walking in, quote, if you know exactly what you want when you drive in. They said, it's okay if you have an idea but aren't sure and have a few questions, but please don't come in clueless. When people go to a fast food restaurant, they expect their food to be ready fast. But that's not always possible, and employees are the first to hear from customers who don't understand that.
Let me ask you something. How hard is your job? How intelligent do you have to be to take a food order?
One worker posted on KFC's subreddit, my fellow employees know the people that complain about chicken wait times are the same people that complain about chicken not being fresh. Chicken fillets take a different time to cook than boneless chicken, which takes a different time than bone-in chicken, of course. Exactly how long might surprise you. One employee replied that the original chicken takes 16 minutes to cook, crispy takes 15 minutes and 30 seconds, tenders take 4 minutes, and fillets take 7 minutes after breading them. In another employee's post about their biggest pet peeves while working at KFC, multiple peeves related to freshness and time complaints. They said, customers tell us to cook another batch because they'd rather wait for fresh. Sorry, we can't waste chicken like that. Our stock is full and we have nowhere to put the fresh chicken. And of course, when customers complain about a wait when there's an obvious line of 30 customers ahead of them. Some fast food chains had built a reputation from special orders, secret menus, and menu hacks that every dedicated customer knows. While those can be fun for the person doing the eating, asking for anything off menu makes everyone's job harder. One customer seems to have noticed this and asked the KFC Reddit community if it's, quote, normal to only ask for thighs and/or breasts in a chicken bucket. The answer, as you might expect, is that yes, this happens all the time. One KFC employee noted, it can be a bit annoying if the customer gets frustrated when we do not have it, but when everyone is ordering special orders, it degrades the stock quite quickly. Others acknowledged that as annoying as it is, the least you can do is call ahead to make it less of a pain for the kitchen. One other thing to keep in mind, according to an employee who responded to the question, some stores charge $1 per breast to swap it out with another piece, so it'll get expensive fast. According to the website Workstream, free food for KFC employees during their shift is a relatively common perk. There are even discounts when the person isn't working that day. Still, it depends on which location the employee is at, and discounts vary from 10% to 30%. On Glassdoor, employees have gotten specific about the food benefits. An employee in Toledo, Ohio, commented that employees at their location, quote, are allowed to eat the food we cook on our breaks. Another in Lancaster, California, added that when you work, they will provide you with a free meal. You can have any of the $5 meals with a drink. And then there was the employee who noted that they get a 2-piece chicken meal and 2 sides if they work 6 or more hours. KFC is owned by Yum Brands, which also owns Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and the Habit Burger and Grill. It's not uncommon to see ones that have been combined, so there are two chains in one building. A KFC and Pizza Hut, for example, or a KFC and a Taco Bell. As one employee at a KFC and Taco Bell combination location put it on Reddit, for some people, just pizza or just fried chicken or just tacos isn't enough. This is America. Why should you have to choose? So they have these combination restaurants to fill all your needs, where you can order from both at the same time. Double the restaurant means more customers and double the number of orders. That can mean that workers may have to take some shortcuts. One employee at a KFC and Taco Bell location noted on Reddit that they've had to take steps to make sure they get the food out on time. Biscuits are pre-buttered, for example, and cookies aren't made in-house. For the chicken strips, they're blanched for the entire day rather than made as needed. It's impossible to deny that humans need some entertainment in their lives, even at work. That's where little employee games come into play. One employee posted on Reddit that they make their shift go by faster with a bingo game. It's simple, but the worker adds, it helps shifts pass a little bit and helps us laugh every time we hear a new bingo entry. Another employee at a KFC and Taco Bell combination restaurant added in the same thread that they hold competitions to see who is faster based off of drive-through times to make the day better. The prize? A small bit of money, and for the winners to be addressed as royalty and greeted with, "How are you, Your Majesty?" whenever they start their shift. What does it take to master what Hooters calls renegade hospitality? Is it more than just a pretty face? Keep watching to see if you'd be able to make it at the restaurant of choice. Sure, if you're trying to work in the front of house at a Hooters restaurant, you'll be taking orders and serving food, but you won't be considered a waitress. Your actual title is a Hooters girl, and your role is that of entertainer, not waitress. It may seem like an odd designation, but it's how the company gets around discrimination laws based on age, sex, and physical appearance. Laws which normally would prevent them from only hiring young, attractive women. In a Reddit feed, a former Hooters general manager explained that the restaurant can get away with this hiring practice through a loophole known as bona fide occupational qualification. Because they're hiring entertainers with specific qualification requirements, similar to, say, a strip club hiring dancers, if someone doesn't meet those requirements, the company can get away with not hiring them. The manager admitted that legally it's a somewhat murky situation, but that usually it works in the restaurant's favor since they've built their entire concept around pretty women serving their customers. Yes, Hooters is known as a breastraurant, and the name Hooters itself is a euphemism for breasts. However, breast size is not a determining factor in whether or not a woman gets hired as an entertainer. In a Reddit Ask Me Anything with a former Hooters general manager, when someone asked if a specific breast size was a requirement, his response was crystal clear. Big boobs have zero to do with hiring. Zero. If a girl is hot, she is hot and will be hired. A former Hooters girl backed this up in her own AMA, saying, "Boob size is really irrelevant during the interview. A pretty face and slim body is more important, as well as a decent personality." However, the manager did say that some women with smaller breasts chose not to work at Hooters because they may face harassment from the customers for not being as busty as the other entertainers.
Why do I like Hooters? Well, I will give you two reasons: the boobs and the hot wings.
Being harassed by customers is unfortunately a regular part of the job for Hooters girls. And according to two former entertainers who shared their experiences on Reddit, the readily available booze doesn't help. One of the women said, "One customer I had was awful to the point where I couldn't keep it together anymore. He was pretty drunk and kept telling me he'd never let his girlfriend work here and asked me how my dad would ever let me work there. Just pretty verbally abusive and weird." Another Hooters girl shared an experience that seemed downright dangerous, saying, "One time I waited on an older gentleman who then called me all night and was waiting for me in the parking lot after work. He asked me how much it would cost for me to spend the night with him. It was horrible." And a former Hooters manager said that the pickup lines were just as creepy, writing, "My favorite was, 'Can you play dead? Good, because I'm a necrophiliac.' And the disturbing behavior isn't just verbal. One former Hooters girl said that she once had a customer pay her $50 for the gum she was chewing. He then continued to pay her for each subsequent piece until he had accumulated a whopping $300 in gum for the night. And a former manager said that customers would sometimes pay up to $50 for a Hooters girl's used stockings. There is one line that can't be crossed, though. Touching a girl without permission will result in swift removal from the premises. One former Hooters entertainer said that after a customer grabbed her butt, the customer was quickly kicked out. Another Hooters girl agreed, writing, "There's no touching, no crude comments, and if a girl feels uncomfortable, the manager will ask the guest to leave." One great reason to try to land a gig as a Hooters girl is for the tips. You're there to entertain, and the men you're serving are willing to pay a high dollar to enjoy the entertainment. This doesn't always mean you'll land a $20 tip on a $20 check, but you can expect to earn more money waiting tables at Hooters than you might at other restaurants. One former Hooters girl shared in her Reddit Ask Me Anything, "I definitely got tipped higher than 20% more there than any other places I've worked. I think this is partly because we were supposed to be really personable with our tables. We treated tables like we were hanging out with friends, not just serving them." And the former Hooters general manager shared the same. "We were in a location with a load of restaurants. I would go out to eat and talk with other waitresses. I would say a bartender at another full-service restaurant in our general area would make what a girl on the floor did at Hooters. Our bartenders made more than me some nights. Kinda depressing." And sometimes the tipping goes even further. One former Hooters entertainer said that her biggest tip ever was, quote, $200 on one beer, and that she once made nearly $900 in tips in a single night. But those creepers can slip into the tips as well. Former Hooters general manager Hootsman1 shared in his Reddit AMA, "I've seen older regulars pay girls' cell phone bills, car payment, rent, you name it." You might think that in situations where a male Hooters manager is constantly surrounded by young, beautiful Hooters girls, the relationships may get uncomfortable. But according to the Reddit AMA threads for former Hooters workers, the boss-employee relationship generally stays respectful, and there are checks and balances built into the corporate structure. Hooters girls are always given the option to move outside the regular chain of command if there is a problem, and reach out to a regional manager if they are experiencing harassment of any kind from a manager. One rule that helps cut down on potential problems, or he said, she said disputes between managers and employees, is the fact that managers aren't actually allowed to talk to any individual Hooters girl in private. Former manager Hootsman1 wrote on Reddit, "You had to have someone else in there, usually a manager, but even if it was just a cook or another girl." Of course, unequal power dynamics can still lead to unpleasant working conditions, as shown in an infamous Undercover Boss episode, where a Hooters manager played a game with his Hooters girls involving eating beans off a plate with their hands tied behind their backs. Needless to say, the company did not like the public condemnation. A former Hooters manager wrote on Reddit, "There was a mild storm."
Jimbo, the way that you interact with the girls, quite frankly, is inappropriate.
Even though Hooters managers aren't allowed to be in an office alone with Hooters girls, they are allowed to date them. But the rules are strict, and if a manager doesn't follow them, they can be fired. According to corporate insider Hootsman1, any and all relationships between managers and employees have to be reported immediately. And as a result, either the manager or the Hooters girl will be relocated. They absolutely can't work together at the same location. Still, he said it's easy for a manager to abuse their power, regardless of the consequences. It would have been like shooting fish in a barrel. I am not the most attractive guy, but I am in good shape and not ugly. I have seen the ugliest, fattest managers get fired. It might not come as a surprise that uniform rules for Hooters girls are strict. While there might be a tiny bit of leeway on some of the rules about things like nail polish from one location to another, for the most part, a Hooters girl's appearance is regulated from the hair to the shoes. In a Reddit Ask Me Anything thread, a former Hooters girl wrote, "You have to wear a nude bra, have to have your hair down, and pretty much have to wear makeup. If you get a run in your stocking or a stain on your tank top, management makes you change ASAP." She went on to share her own experience when she thought she could get away with breaking a rule. "We had to wear the black uniform on Fridays, so we had to wear a black bra. I wore a leopard print bra one Friday because you can't see it under the black tank top, but some of it was peeking out from the sides. My manager called me out on it almost immediately." She also shared that she had to take out her nose piercing whenever going in for a shift, but at least they didn't have a specific amount of flair they had to wear.
We need to talk about your flair.
Really? I have 15 pieces on.
Well, okay, 15 is the minimum.
It may seem counterintuitive given the Hooters' reputation as a restaurant, but Hooters bills themselves as family-friendly. In fact, all the former Hooters employees who hosted Reddit AMAs agreed that they loved serving families. The thing is, the food is reasonably priced and tasty, and depending on the location, some Hooters have kids eat free specials on certain days and times. One of the former Hooters girls wrote, "People used to call all the time asking if kids were allowed. We had hula hoop competitions with kids sometimes, or would color with them if it was slow. I honestly think I got asked to take a picture with people's kids the most." If you've ever wondered how to land a gig as a Hooters bartender, don't start searching the job ads for job postings. The only way to land a bartending gig is to be hired as a Hooters girl waiting tables and get promoted. But you won't get promoted by taking a bartending course or training for weeks behind the bar. No, the only way to land one of the coveted roles is to be one of the most attractive Hooters girls at your restaurant. In his Reddit AMA, former general manager Hootsman1 said, "Bartenders were picked from the best/hottest waitresses. A bartender had to be in your top 25% of your staff looks-wise." He also added that looks trumped skills every time at Hooters because the customers aren't there for great service. Hot girls were the way to go. If you gave me the option of a superb waitress who was above average looking or a superb looking girl who was an average waitress, I'll take the superb looking girl 10 times out of 10. In essence, waitressing and bartending can be taught to a degree, but looks can't be. The goal is to sell food and drinks, and men are more likely to buy more when there are pretty girls serving them, especially pretty girls behind the bar, so you have to give the customers what they want. While you may not need any special skills, aside from good looks, to land a gig as a Hooters girl, there's no denying that the company wants their waitstaff to sell. And given that Hooters girls are considered entertainers, the company has a vested interest in helping the girls learn how to sell themselves to appeal to a broad customer base. According to a former Hooters girl on Reddit, "We actually go through a renegade hospitality course where they teach us how to market ourselves and create mutually beneficial relationships with customers. They like when we personalize our sections. They want us to make the customer's day. There are special birthday songs, bachelor songs, bad day songs." In fact, she explained that management allows them to decorate their own sections with balloons or to come up with a personalized menu. It's a little bit different than many other restaurants, but if a customer falls in love with a particular Hooters girl, they'll come back over and over again, spending more money, benefiting the restaurant and the Hooters girl herself.
From rowdy nights to cozy mornings, secret codes to free food, working at Waffle House is a unique experience. Here's what it's really like. Just how popular is Waffle House anyway? Consider this. The quick service diner serves roughly 80,000 customers a day in its Atlanta locations alone. So it should come as no surprise that working at Waffle House can be intense. In other words, employees have to bring their A game.
Look at that, it's waffles! Delicious waffles!
Working at Waffle House is by no means a glamorous job. Managers often do many of the same menial tasks as first-day employees. The company's president, Walt Amer, said, "It's hard to get an inflated opinion of yourself when you're washing dishes every day." Though how often Mr. Amer pulls dish duty is unknown. Meeting Waffle House's goal of getting food out to every customer in 8 minutes or less can be tough, especially when you consider that Waffle House doesn't hold orders. As a Waffle House cook recently confessed on Reddit, "Sometimes I can get into some kind of rhythm that helps me a bit, but for the most part, it is pretty overwhelming." The trickiest aspect of Waffle House employment might be learning their secret language. Unlike many restaurants, Waffle House doesn't use computers to fill orders, which means keeping track of everything can be complicated. So to ensure that those scattered, smothered, and covered hash browns come out just as the customer ordered, the staff uses a special shorthand, a code if you will. Here's how it works. As the waitstaff reads out your order, the cook places certain food items on your plate to communicate to the rest of the team what's in that order. No words necessary. For example, a face-up mustard packet signifies a pork chop, while a face-down packet means country ham. Jelly cups in certain positions indicate how the egg should be done, from scrambled to over easy, and those are just a few examples. There's a lot more where those came from.
As the salesperson calls in the order, it is your job to begin placing markers on the plates using the special code.
Not surprisingly, this can be pretty confusing for newbies. In an interview with the Associated Press, Waffle House manager Katie Pearson explained that it took a few weeks before it all made sense. However, there's a happy ending to her story, as she's now a real pro and says she'll be fluent in the code forever. Like so many serving jobs, Waffle House servers have a small hourly wage starting at around $2 an hour. The key to making decent money, of course, is in the tips. On Quora, some Waffle House servers are reporting that with tips, making $20 an hour isn't unusual. It just comes down to landing a busy shift, like breakfast or nights. Most Waffle House employees would agree that weekends, particularly the third shift, can be especially lucrative. As one Waffle House server posted on Reddit, "The bar crowd comes in and it's nothing to walk out with $200 to $300 in your pocket in the morning." Perhaps you consider yourself a regular at your local Waffle House, But are you really a regular if the grill cooks don't start prepping your hash browns before you even sit down? Well, one thing's for sure. If you work at Waffle House, you'll most certainly get to know the regulars. Katie Pearson, a Waffle House manager in South Carolina, said that many of her customers order the same thing every time they visit. She's so familiar with some regulars that she starts prepping their meal when they pull into the parking lot. Other regulars Pearson sees every day, and she considers them almost like family.
This is their second home, and it's so easy to do that when the associates feel that way too.
Getting to know those customers and developing regulars is essential for the chain's business. Waffle House manager Randy Coleman told the Wall Street Journal that he won't hire somebody if they aren't friendly and conversational. Coleman said it doesn't take him long to detect if somebody isn't cut out for the job either. You will not be able to fake it.
Because they're not just customers, they're my guests, and they make me proud to be there night after night.
Working at Waffle House can be incredibly tiring. In a piece on working at the famed late-night dining establishment, the Wall Street Journal noted a revealing Glassdoor review from a worker who had survived the Waffle House trenches that claimed, "You will find grits in everything you wear." Andrew Knowlton spent 24 hours working at a Waffle House and wrote about his experience for Bon Appetit, reporting that the experience did indeed leave him very exhausted and very greasy. Simply put, working at a Waffle House isn't for slackers. As Knowlton put it, being a short order cook is the hardest job on the planet. If you've ever been to Waffle House at 2 a.m. on a weekend, then you know the crowd can be a bit, well, lively. And while it is true that every employee in the service industry is going to run into rude customers occasionally, at Waffle House, drunk customers are 100% expected. A Waffle House waitress on Reddit said that a customer getting sick and throwing up was a weekly occurrence. And while intoxicated customers getting sick is one thing, fights are quite another. Waffle House fights don't often make headlines, unless Kid Rock is involved, but they do happen. One Waffle House manager on Reddit said they've seen plenty of fights over the years, including a drunk who had his dinner plate broken over his head. Another Waffle House employee on Reddit reported they never saw any fights, saying, "The closest we got was a customer who refused to leave after being asked." Most chain restaurants have uniforms or dress codes. The only difference is just how strictly those dress codes are enforced. Take a look around the next time you're inside a Waffle House, and you'll probably notice that most of the men working are quite clean-shaven. According to a Waffle House employee on Reddit, all cooks must shave daily and no piercings are allowed at all. It's worth noting, though, that these were the rules in 2012, and numerous employees on Indeed have said Waffle House is more relaxed about piercings now, provided your face doesn't look like a human pincushion. Waffle House workers are probably a bit more accustomed to working in dangerous conditions than any other food service employees. And we're not talking about the Saturday night shift. Waffle House is known for its policy of facing natural disasters head-on, making it a point to stay open during tornadoes and hurricanes. This defiance of Mother Nature has even led to the informal metric, the Waffle House Index, by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This means that if the Waffle House is still open, things aren't that bad. The COVID-19 pandemic was a different story altogether, though. By May 2020, many Waffle Houses across the United States were forced to close, while the lucky ones that did stay open were doing takeout only. For a place like Waffle House that depends on a steady stream of customers grabbing a quick bite, that meant trouble. Waffle House saw a 70% drop in its sales and around 700 of its stores closed. Waffle House management took heavy pay cuts, and some 28,000 employees lost their jobs altogether, and those who didn't lose their jobs had their hours drastically cut. Between refills of coffee and slinging plates, working at Waffle House is a whirlwind of activity. Because so many people pour through its doors daily, it's not uncommon for the restaurant to run out of some pretty essential ingredients. According to a Waffle House grill operator on Reddit, "I once ran out of waffle iron spray, which meant I had to go a whole 10 hours telling people I wasn't able to serve them waffles." Now, it might seem strange that a 24-hour diner like Waffle House wouldn't be prepared for food shortages in advance. However, the all-hour service makes the occurrence nearly unavoidable. But the Reddit commenter offers another explanation. The restaurant waits until the beginning of a new shift to restock whatever's low, so employees have to make do or improvise with whatever's on hand. Waffle House employees can choose from 3 shifts: morning, otherwise known as the first shift, afternoon, which is the second shift, and third shift, which generally runs from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. As you might have guessed, the third shift is not for the faint of heart. Late-night Waffle House crowds are known for being rowdy. Between the grueling conditions and outright exhaustion of working all night, it takes a strong will to power through. As a Waffle House manager explained on Reddit, "I only put people in the night shift who I know I can trust and who I am fully confident can execute the job. It's the only way I can sleep at night." Like a moth to a flame, Waffle House attracts night owls seeking greasy, carb-heavy meals. It's the time of night when bar hoppers and partygoers need to recharge with some coffee and a full breakfast. And no other restaurant is open except, of course, Waffle House. Employees certainly experience challenges at any time of day, but working the graveyard shift puts their job in a whole new light.
This is probably the only place that's near us that's open and cheap.
A great perk of working a fast food gig is the employee discount, and Waffle House's policy is extremely generous. How generous exactly? Well, how does free food sound? That's right, at Waffle House, workers can enjoy a wide array of menu items free of charge during their shifts. Freebies cover most of the breakfast menu, but workers don't have to limit themselves, because plenty of lunch and dinner items count as well, and the options are equally appealing. Think salads, sandwiches, and even cheeseburgers. The only things employees have to pay for are special items such as desserts and meats like chicken and steak. Still, getting to smother and cover to your heart's desire, and all on the restaurant's dime, is a pretty sweet perk. Waffle House workers put up with a lot, from demanding customers to repetitive jukebox tunes. Still, none of those nuisances beats the nightmare scenario that a Birmingham, Alabama Waffle House employee had to face. In 2019, Alabama local news reported on a single worker handling a location completely alone after coworkers failed to show up. Even at midnight, when the restaurant was buzzing with activity, one worker was responsible for everything from cooking to cleaning to serving. But if the thought of this worker being on dish duty and flipping eggs simultaneously has your heart racing, don't worry, because this horror story has a happy ending. Because instead of letting the overworked individual drown in disarray, customers started to help. One patron got to work washing dishes, and another, clad in a party dress and heels, operated the coffee machine and took orders. Waffle House thanked the participants for lending a hand and even encouraged the dishwasher to apply for a job there. Warm feelings aside, it just goes to show that the line between employee and customer truly blurs at the Waffle House. There's just something about food service that inspires particularly tight-knit relationships. It makes sense that in a bustling kitchen environment, team members have to communicate and collaborate. And Waffle House is no different. One Waffle House waitress on Reddit described her coworkers as being more like family than her blood relatives.
What? Man,
I love
Waffle
you.
House.
Waffle House.
Manager Katie Pearson takes this all-in-the-family approach seriously by ensuring her team has everything they need to do a good job, telling the Associated Press, "My goal is to make sure they are making money, they are happy when they come to work, and they are making their customers happy. And, judging from the number of Waffle House regulars, it seems like it's working."
Do Red Lobster employees really like working there? And what aspects of the job do they have gripes about? Keep watching for all the highs and lows of a Red Lobster gig. Red Lobster is a popular name in the world of chain restaurants. From servers to managers to corporate employees, Red Lobster employs roughly 45,000 people. The seafood chain even made the magazine's list of America's best large employers list of 2021. But how do employees actually feel about working there? The brand says it cares about its team members and that many stay with them longer than other companies. A description on the Red Lobster Career Opportunities website reads, "We are proud that Red Lobster team members stay with the company more than twice as long as the industry average, and that stems from a people-first philosophy that we have never wavered on." Red Lobster has a 3.7-star average rating out of 5 on Indeed. Work-life balance and culture seem to be two things Red Lobster employees are happy about, if the Indeed reviews are any indication. One self-identified former server at Red Lobster wrote on Indeed that working at Red Lobster can be extremely hectic, like other restaurant gigs, but that the job is also a lot of fun. Another person agreed with this sentiment, but added that they'd like the management to to improve, saying, "Managers sit in the back and expect everything to be done their way, even if there's a more simpler way to do it." Still, another staff member loved working for Red Lobster and said they were fond of their colleagues as well as their managers. Meanwhile, another former server wrote on Glassdoor that there are plenty of opportunities to make money at the chain, as long as you're comfortable with the job and can multitask. And as with any food service job, teamwork plays a key role in ensuring that everything goes smoothly at Red Lobster. One employee wrote in a Glassdoor review, "Good experiences interlock between the guest experience with others in the workplace as well as the server's own. If coworkers are lazy, irresponsible, or unresponsive to guests, it can negatively impact the guest overall experience. And of course, this leads to less generous tips." A 2021 Reddit post on the malicious compliance subreddit included a detailed account from a person who said they worked at Red Lobster a few years ago as an assembler. They had to organize the dishes before they were served to customers at the restaurant. On a particularly bad day at work, many customers had showed up for lunch, which meant it was extra important to be as quick as possible. They wrote, "I began putting empty plates up in the window with the shape of each ticket that was to leave the kitchen, a technique I had learned to help survive bullshit like this." The manager wasn't too happy about this and told the employee that they're only supposed to plate the food when the food is ready. One of the most popular comments in the post read, "As someone who both cooked and ran Expo in a Red Lobster, I felt this post in my soul." Although Red Lobster isn't the most glamorous job, it's still an attractive gig for many people. In fact, many celebrities held jobs at Red Lobster before they became famous, and some of them didn't have good things to say about the restaurant. Comedian and actor Chris Rock worked as a dishwasher at Red Lobster in the late 1980s and admitted that he never even received a raise or a promotion. Speaking about his time at the eatery in his 2008 HBO special Kill the Messenger, Rock said, "They kept me in the back because I had really f***ed up teeth and they didn't want people to think that shrimp f***ed up your teeth." And who can forget Nicki Minaj's stories about working at multiple Red Lobster locations in New York City? From chasing down a customer to get a pen back to giving a customer the middle finger, Minaj admitted to Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show in 2019 that she'd been fired from multiple Red Lobster jobs. She said to Fallon,
"I have worked at a couple different Red Lobsters and I've gotten fired from all 3 or 4 of them."
It's not hard to convince people to eat a chicken fingers and fries combo, but it's another thing to convince people to sell it. So how does Raising Cane's keep its employees asking, hey, want some chicken today? One of the most challenging parts of working in fast food is arguably that employees barely ever get a day off. In fact, instead of being able to spend the holidays with their family, staff members will very likely be operating their restaurant stations. This is the case for employees staffing chains like Dunkin' and IHOP, which are, depending on the location, open 365 days a year, but not for those who work at Raising Cane's. As one employee on Reddit revealed, staff members at the Chicken Finger Forward Eatery don't have to work on any of the US's big holidays. That doesn't just include Christmas and Thanksgiving, but Easter, the 4th of July, and Memorial Day. The Louisiana-born chain's Louisiana locations also closed down for Mardi Gras, which is only right. The restaurant would be doing its heritage a serious disservice if its crew couldn't eat king cake and catch beads on Fat Tuesday. And since the South loves its football, some locations have even been known to close down 30 minutes after the Super Bowl's kickoff so the crew can enjoy the big game. While the fast food industry is notorious for offering minimal benefits to its employees, recently chains have begun to see the error in their limited benefit-giving ways. But as one employee on Comparably noted, citing the chain's benefits were all very good and unlike any they'd had before, Raising Cane's compensation package is a head above the rest. Aside from promising dental, vision, and life insurance, 401k matching, and paid time off, the chain also offers its employees a phone discount through Verizon and no-cost high school diplomas. And if you're a restaurant leader, things get even better. In 2023, the company announced it would chuck out $10,000 in closing cost payments to restaurant leaders who want to invest in buying their first home. The reason Cane's spends so much on their employees is simple. They note on their website, "We provide competitive benefits and perks to help you be your happiest, healthiest, most chick-enthusiastic self." AKA, good benefits are the best way to make their employees want to stick around. Here's another not-so-fun fact about most fast food places. The dress code for employees is usually stiflingly strict. At In-N-Out, all staff members must throw a red apron with a gold apron pin over a white shirt and white pants getup. In the domain of Ronald McDonald, employees need to ensure they pair their McDonald's-sanctioned jeans and belt with a red button-down shirt. But at Cane's, employees have a lot of freedom with their uniforms. One of Raising Cane's crew members in a YouTube video noted, "It's kinda nice that you can express yourself with the uniform." According to the employee, although Cane's staff are required to pair a company t-shirt with a solid colored pair of pants, must keep their hair pulled back, and can never be seen without a belt or Cane's hat, so long as they adhere to these basic rules, they can choose the type of pants and belt they wear to work. The crew member noted she herself wore cargo pants on the job, and while the whole company shirt and hat requirement sounds like a fashion drab, the shirts, hoodies, and visors that Cane's provides its employees are colorful with fun designs. No wonder crew members at Cane's have so much fun showing off their work uniform of the day on TikTok. "Fun now comes in shifts" is one of the many slogans Raising Cane's uses to recruit new staff members. A little weird? Maybe so, but unlike most restaurants, according to Cane's employees, the chain is not all bark, no bite when it comes to its claim that it values a friendly work environment. Just check out employee comments on what it's like working for the brand. One Reddit user reported, "It's been a lot of fun, and honestly, I mean that." Another echoed the sentiment, calling it absolutely worth it. Employees report the fun work culture is in part due to Raising Cane's ensuring its crew members have at least 2 holiday parties a year. But staff members noted the healthy work environment at Cane's is mostly thanks to the company's commitment to hiring managers and staff members who are supportive of each other. No wonder Forbes voted the restaurant as one of the 500 best major companies to work for in 2021.
Raising Cane, y'all.
Yeah. Chicken fingers, baby. Now you speaking my language. You hear me?
Do we even have to explain what the best perk of working in the food industry is? What else could it be but the free food? Chains like Chipotle guarantee their staff free of cost eats in exchange for working an entire shift. But for all its fun uniforms and great benefits, as one crew member on Reddit disclosed, Raising Cane's does not give its regular employees free meals. Shocked? So were we. Rather than offering its items to all its staff free of charge, Cane's gives its regular crew members a 50% discount on its famous chicken fingers. However, the chain does make free food exceptions for 2 groups. As the same employee noted, if a staff member acts as cavalry at a different Cane's location than the one they're based at, they'll receive a free meal for their trouble. And per another crew member on Glassdoor, managers are allowed to dine on a feast of no-cost chicken every shift. So, based on those little tidbits, it seems to us that Raising Cane's whole holding back on the free food thing is a business tactic. The chain appears to use the lure of free chicken combos to inspire employees to want to both move up the ladder and help in other stores that are low on staff. At Raising Cane's, there's only one menu item more famous than its chicken fingers, and that's its sauce. To the horror of Cane's employees, someone has to prepare the sacred dip that comes in everyone and their mother's chicken combo meal. This is why, for maximum efficiency, employees report that one crew member is always on sauce. In fact, according to employees on TikTok, Cane's staff are in danger of spending their entire shift prepping the restaurant's famous dip. And apparently, it's not a station you want to be manning. Typically, when an employee is on sauce, they are required to pump Cane's elixir of legend into cups before capping them off with a lid. Sometimes, to speed this process along, there will be one employee in charge of lids while the other is operating the pump. Aside from being a tedious job, employees report that when working on sauce, the sauce pump is known to break, which can result in the sauce leaking out of the top of the pump. Even more, some employees relayed in the same TikTok video's comment section that there are Cane's locations that do not even have pumps for the sauce. Instead, staff members manually scoop the sauce out. Well, at the very least, we bet employees on sauce duty can confidently skip arm day at the gym. At Raising Cane's drive-thru, simply asking a customer if you can take their order will not do.
Hi, our chicken is kicking, our sauce is the boss, and our toast is the most. Surprise! Our fries will cross your eyes.
These are just a few of the ways you may be greeted at the chain's drive-thru. But while these catchphrases are, quite frankly, hilarious to hear, according to one employee on YouTube, on the crew member end of things, having to say them can take some getting used to. The employee revealed that at first, it can be pretty awkward to call out these quirky, TV commercial-esque phrases in real life. However, time both heals all wounds and allows employees to more confidently blurt out these out-of-the-box drive-thru sayings. As the YouTuber noted, having coworkers who can make the the sayings feel like a joke the whole shift's in on is especially helpful. Of course, the employee also noted that the fact that most customers laugh at these phrases when they hear them makes things much less awkward. The current state of the U.S.'s minimum wage is a hot topic, and Raising Cane's is all about staying ahead of the curve when treating its employees with respect. This information actually comes from a former employee who made a video on TikTok saying they wanted their job at Cane's back ASAP. Why? In April of 2023, Raising Cane's started paying all its shift managers $18 an hour, making the chain's average pay $19.50 an hour, significantly higher than most fast food chains. In 2022, a survey revealed that at least 50% of 14 fast food brands' workforce made under $15 an hour. So, as of late 2023, this means Raising Cane's is one of the few fast food chains whose average hourly salary exceeds that number. The reason for this increase is the same reason the chain feels it should give its employees impressive benefits. Although one of Raising Cane's CEOs reported to Yahoo Finance on the significant wage increase.
Why are we doing this? It's the right thing to do.
He also noted that the company views upping its pay per hour as a way to invest in growing its team, and by extension, its profit. Higher than average for the industry wages aren't the only monetary incentive Raising Cane's offers its employees. According to one YouTuber, there are several ways employees can add extra dollars to their salary. Staff members can become certified trainers, which mostly involves watching training videos, to add an extra $2 to their hourly wage. Cane's employees can also become bird specialists, which entails being in charge of the kitchen and involves a more rigorous training process, where they'll be supervised while frying up Cane's famous chicken fingers. Although we were unable to confirm how much more a bird specialist makes, we do know the role knocks up the numbers in Cane's employees' paychecks while also giving them the skills they need to become store managers. Also, though the employee didn't mention it in the video, Cane's offers one more way for employees to make a little extra ka-ching on payday. For any time worked past 10 p.m., crew members will be rewarded an extra $1 an hour for their efforts, and they quite frankly deserve it for the night hours they have to work. Want to know why? Usually staying open until well after midnight, Raising Cane's is an establishment where the freshly partied out can drown their sorrows in cane sauce. That also means that employees at the restaurant tend to work very long nights. When working close, Cane's crew members risk not getting off until as late as 3 a.m., which is probably why one former employee declared in a TikTok of a Cane's closing shift, "I hated closing." Per the comments of another TikTok made by a few exhausted Cane's night shifters, closing out a day of spreading can be tedious due to the process of cleaning what they deem the bird, likely referring to Cane's grease fryers. Plus, the staff may also need to do an extra time-consuming deep clean if inspectors are coming to check their location in the morning. However, despite the long hours, Cane's employees seem to make the most of the late-night closing madness. On TikTok, some employees have shared videos of their late-night shift breaking out into dance and listening to music while wiping down the kitchen during a close, the epitome of dancing through the pain.
I've grown tremendously, starting to, take on other jobs, training people. We're all kind of striving for the same thing.
According to employees, Cane's usually cross-trains its staff. In other words, while you may be hired to cook, you'll be trained and expected to stand in as a cashier if need be, and vice versa. Even managers need to know how to work and help out with every position in the front and back of the restaurant. As always, there's a strategy behind Raising Cane's insistence that it cross-trains its crew. This method for training staff has been around for a very long time because it benefits both employees and employers. By having a cross-trained staff, a Raising Cane's location will always be able to sustain the flow of its service. If someone calls out sick or if the restaurant is short on staffing, it's much easier to ensure all positions are covered if everyone in the crew knows how to handle every station. In that same vein, since staff members are trained in various roles, they can also build a skill set that will help them in future jobs. So, while cross-training may seem annoying initially, it is a win-win for everyone.
A satisfied 90-year-old employee says she'll work there until she reaches 100. Meanwhile, others have quit due to sexual harassment or were straight up let go via a 2-line form letter. So what's the story behind such discrepancies? Here's what it's really like to work at Bob Evans, according to employees. According to a 2003 study published in Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Research, over 50% of the employees in the restaurant industry are dissatisfied with their jobs, and we're guessing that percentage may have gone up during the COVID-19 pandemic. but employees at Bob Evans seemed to exude positivity. A majority of them left positive feedback about the company on the site comparably, with one writing, "Everyone works together. We help everyone out who needs it. The camaraderie seems sweeter than the restaurant's apple pie." One hostess at Bob Evans gushed, "If we needed a meal ready, we were very able to talk to the back staff and have them get that ready. If we had just sat somebody, we would let the servers know, and it was a very good work environment. All the pieces work together that way. The customers are generally nice too, and some are so sincere about having their meal at Bob Evans that the hostess said employees tend to have a good relationship with them. And even the wait staff, who you would expect to be the most stressed, seem happy." The hostess wrote, "The waiters would always joke around, and they were on rotation, so you got to know all of them really well." Given how happy employees seem to be, it's no surprise that some took to Quora to say that it's also a great place to enter the job market. As one past employee put it, "It was my first job and I loved it." What's it that they love about the work? For some, it's that they felt the company valued them as both employees and as people, while for others, it is the learning experience that the restaurant gives them. An ex-employee who had joined Bob Evans in high school, taking up a range of roles including that of a busboy, dishwasher, kitchen prep, cook, and server, said, "I actually learned skills that I could use later in life. I learned something valuable from all of those. And while doing all that, it was a great social atmosphere when time permitted. But of course, not everything is cool and dandy." One Bob Evans waitstaff member wrote on Quora, "It is not easy. You will have your mental breakdowns and nights of being so busy you feel suffocated and seeing nothing but cranky tables mad at you for all the issues that may or may not be your fault." Still, even with all those frustrations, she added, "I truly mean it when I say there's more good than bad." Many Reddit users were grossed out when a Bob Evans employee posted a photo of a massive pile of unwashed dishes cluttering up the kitchen. So what happened? Well, the original poster said that the pileup happened because their dishwasher wasn't scheduled till 10 a.m., and it's apparently not an isolated incident. Another employee, who had worked as a hostess and grill cook at Bob Evans for 8 months, said that dishwashers tended to be either absent or slow, so it was very hard to find clean dishes during the rushes of the day. Guess the people at Bob Evans aren't big Ratatouille fans.
Keep your station clear or I will kill you!
Unfortunately, unwashed dishes are not the only issues that botch up the kitchen aesthetics. Another former employee wrote, "The grill area tended to be really gross. Fryers, when the oil was finally changed, tended to stay empty for a few days. And in some cases, things get way out of hand." The Bob Evans in Toledo, Ohio reportedly violated kitchen regulations. According to the Toledo Blade, foods were left out on a speed rack at an unsafe temperature while awaiting reheating. They also reported that other foods weren't properly refrigerated, including packaged pumpkin pie, cantaloupe, tartar sauce, whipped topping, and milk. And you definitely don't want to leave milk out.
They also had to throw out cold food because it was too warm to be considered safe. We're talking ham, tomatoes, fish.
Besides the luxury of wearing a casual black tee and denim to work instead of a specific uniform, the employees have a ton of perks, including insurance and retirement benefits, and the right to have a Bob Evans dinner for free. The discount rates on food vary with the job title, though. According to Glassdoor, managers can eat for free. Everyone else gets 50% off on all meals on days they work, or 20% meals at any Bob Evans location on their days off. A former server at Bob Evans told job applications, "If you worked over a certain number of hours, you were entitled to a half-price meal. Even if you came in and you weren't working that day, you were entitled to a discount. Of course, you have to work for your supper." A former kitchen prep at Bob Evans told job applications that he was in charge of soups, salads, desserts, and rolls and biscuits, among other things. Pretty much prepared everything and made sure all the produce was sliced, made sure we had soups that could be heated up and ready. Still, it was worth it for both the discounted meals and the prospect of starting at $10 per hour. He said, "I thought that was amazing." According to many employees and former employees, coworkers at Bob Evans are like family. Not like the distant aunt you see once a year, but someone more close. Glassdoor analyzed over 2,600 reviews by Bob Evans employees and found that one of the most common sentiments is that it's a, quote, family-oriented great place to work. How nice is it? Well, one 90-year-old employee told the Columbus Dispatch that she wanted to keep working at Bob Evans for as long as they would let her. After cleaning tables and greeting guests for 15 years, Pat Hartman said she has no plans to stop.
If I get 100, I'll probably still be here, if they'll let me.
When Bob Evans advertises itself as a place where strangers are like friends and friends are like family, there probably is some truth to it. According to the Daily Jeff, when 30-year employee Larry Michelli passed away, his family had his funeral procession pass through the parking lot of the restaurant just so his coworkers could say goodbye one last time. According to the report, Michelli was so dedicated to Bob Evans that he had shown up at work even on the morning of his daughter's wedding. And another employee who had spent 25 years working at Bob Evans told Quora, "We were a special group, more like a family than coworkers." Getting laid off hurts, but when it's family, that's a lot worse. So when a group of Bob Evans employees in West Virginia were abruptly laid off via a 2-line form letter, it definitely rankled. One of the laid-off employees told Eyewitness News,
I was in shock. I was absolutely in shock. And more than anything, I think I was disgusted.
The employee, who had worked at the restaurant for a decade before being abruptly let go, added,
10 years I've given that company. And I think the least that they could have done was at least, they could have handled it better.
And it wasn't an isolated incident. Another employee who was let go after 36 years at Bob Evans wrote on Glassdoor, "Treat your longtime employees like you used to. I stuck by you people and you try to eliminate my job. I deserve better treatment." And many other locations have shut down over the last decade as well. After the closure of 5 restaurants in 2013, the director of corporate communications, Margaret Standing, told the Tampa Bay Times, "We told the team there it had nothing to do with their dedication or how well they were doing their job, but for reasons and circumstances beyond their control." And in 2016, the company's low-performing locations were shut, affecting as many as 1,100 workers. But there was one silver lining. The changes implemented by the company after these closures, including a new focus on takeout and delivery, helped the chain weather the COVID pandemic better than most of their competitors. Anyone who has ever worked in the service industry knows that customers can sometimes be difficult, and it's no different at Bob Evans. At Bob Evans, it's a custom that you pay your bill at the cashier's desk, but it's a custom that some customers aren't familiar with. One employee wrote on Reddit, "People usually figure it out themselves, but sometimes they will stop me and angrily tell me they're ready to pay. When I drop their bills off, I tell them that you pay up front. So if you're not listening to me, it's not my problem, really." Another employee wrote on Reddit that every day they would have multiple people just walk out without paying for their food at all. And unsurprisingly, the pandemic didn't always bring out the best in customers. One waitress wrote that a customer who refused to follow mask protocols started swearing and threw a bottle of sanitizer at her. A survey conducted by Social Science Research Solutions found a shocking stat. 71% of women in the restaurant industry had been sexually harassed. And according to the survey, the perpetrators included both customers and those within the industry: supervisors, managers, restaurant owners. What's worse, when the incidents were reported, almost all harassed employees faced retaliation of some sort. And unfortunately, Bob Evans has had their share of harassment issues. The St. Louis Business Journal reported that in 2005, the restaurant chain faced a lawsuit that alleged that the general manager at one of the restaurant locations sexually harassed 8 female servers, some of whom were still teenagers. In that case, the settlement reportedly cost the restaurant $250,000. But it wasn't an isolated incident. According to the West Virginia Record, in 2021, an employee who worked at the Bob Evans South Charleston location filed a complaint against her former manager and the company for sexual harassment and racial discrimination. She alleged that her complaints to the restaurant's supervisory personnel were ignored, and she was subjected to retaliatory actions. Ultimately, she said that he assaulted her and even came to her house after getting her home address from company records, leaving her no choice but to quit. On 2015 New Year's Eve, the city of Flint, Michigan saw the chosen one traipsing along the streets, hopping in and out of some shops and restaurants, including Bob Evans. Yes, it was none other than Daniel Radcliffe, the star of the popular Harry Potter movie series. According to MLive, Radcliffe was in the area to visit his girlfriend, actor Aaron Dark, who is a University of Michigan alumnus. So naturally, he went to Bob Evans for a meal. The manager of the restaurant said, "We gave him the same service that we give everybody, and he was satisfied." Not everyone was quite so sanguine about it, with one Twitter user writing, "Out of all the things Daniel Radcliffe could do in Flint, he chooses to go to Bob Evans. Why?" He's not the only celebrity you might spot at a Bob Evans, though. Another star who we guarantee enjoys the farm fresh food served up at Bob Evans is the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. According to the Bengals website, Burrow was a frequenter at the Bob Evans in his hometown of Athens, Ohio. According to Indeed, less than half of Bob Evans' employees feel that they are paid fairly. The company has been accused of not paying its employees their due. In 2018, they had to settle a lawsuit by giving away $3 million to 1,800 odd employees. According to the lawsuit, the company had been paying the employees tipped minimum wage, which is much less than the regular minimum wage, while making them do a ton of work that did not earn them any tips, like scrubbing walls and sweeping the floors. That broke the United States Department of Labor's rule that says if employees do non-tipped work for more than 20% of their work time, they have to be paid the higher non-tipped federal minimum wage. In 2019, yet another lawsuit was filed by employees in some Bob Evans locations in West Virginia. Besides incorrect payment, the lawsuit alleged that employees were asked to pay from their pockets to compensate for customer walkouts.
Jersey Mike's is known for having friendly workers, probably because they get free subs after every shift. And that's not the only perk. From numerous advancement opportunities to good tips, here's what employees have to say about working at the sandwich chain. Employees at Jersey Mike's can expect to become experts in multitasking. Reviews online report that working at the popular chain involves much more than just making sandwiches. For example, one former employee wrote about their experience on Indeed, saying, "I learned more than I thought from a small sub place. I learned to work the cash register, top subs, grill meats and vegetables, slice meats and cheeses, and prepare lettuce, onion, tomatoes, and bread." Workers are also responsible for wrapping the sandwiches, opening and closing the store, washing dishes, and maintaining a clean restaurant. This includes learning how to handle food properly, following cooking instructions, and using tools such as knives, slicers, and grills safely. Another core part of the job is providing exceptional customer service. While the occasional difficult customer comes through the door, employees generally have good things to say about the patrons. Joining the Jersey Mike's team can serve as a great introduction to working in a restaurant environment, since the wide variety of tasks allows workers to try out different aspects of a job in food service. You may be surprised to learn that Jersey Mike's employees memorize the menu, which is an important part of their training. However, some workers admit that it takes some time to get everything down. It's not hard to see why it would be so challenging. With about 30 subs on the menu, each featuring different combinations of meat, cheese, sauces, and toppings, anyone would need time to commit all of them to memory.
When somebody comes in and orders a sandwich, you're making a sandwich fresh right in front of them.
There are huge benefits to memorizing the menu, however, which is why it's the one piece of advice that former employees consistently have for new hires. Once you learn the menu, you're able to prepare orders much more quickly and truly get into the flow of the task. Being in a fast-paced work environment requires efficiency, quick thinking, and clear communication. This is why learning the menu is key. It helps to have one less thing to worry about. One of the most commonly asked questions at restaurant chains is whether employees receive free meals. Every Jersey Mike's location is independently owned and operated, meaning that workers' experiences and store policies may differ. However, the consensus is that a free meal is one perk of working at the sub shop.
I can't get enough of watching Jersey Mike's freshly grilled hot subs, and I like watching nice and close.
According to the Sandwiches subreddit, employees can help themselves to a free sub and fountain drinks every shift, and may even get additional meal discounts. Some lucky workers even receive free cookies and chips on the job. Other less fortunate employees lament that they only have access to discounted menu prices. No matter how much you might enjoy subs, it's not hard to imagine growing tired of eating one every day. Still, many Jersey Mike's workers enjoy the option of a free or discounted meal. It's easy to be skeptical when eating out. Almost everyone has had experiences when their meal tastes like the back of a freezer. This may even be the expectation at fast food restaurants. However, Jersey Mike's seeks to set itself apart by guaranteeing fresh, high-quality ingredients. The restaurant promises bread that's baked in-store daily, freshly prepped veggies, and cheeses and meats sliced before your eyes.
At Jersey Mike's, they slice your sub right in front of you.
Well, it's one thing when a company says its food is freshly made, and another when you actually get your order and see for yourself. Thankfully, Jersey Mike's employees can confirm that the restaurant chain delivers on its promise of freshness. One former shift supervisor wrote on Glassdoor, "Bread has to be started and baked fresh in the morning. All the toppings have to be washed, sliced, and prepped, etc." Another former employee summed it up by saying, "I felt really confident in the product I was selling." Customers can ditch their doubts and rest assured that the sub shop takes its commitment to freshness seriously. Some might debate whether Jersey Mike's falls under fast food or fast casual, but regardless, neither category is exactly known for paying its workers well. According to Indeed, as of early 2024, the average pay for a crew member at the sub chain is about $14.50 per hour. This is around 9% above the national average for similar roles. In comparison, the average pay for a sandwich maker at Subway is just under $12 per hour. Individual pay can vary based on location and management. In a review on Indeed, a former crew member wrote that while Jersey Mike's is a good first job, it doesn't pay well. That said, they noted tips help offset the low wages. Not everyone receives tips, but those who do report it as one of the best parts of the job. For example, one staff member claimed on Indeed that they received on average $100 to $200 in tips every 2 weeks. Overall, only 45% of the restaurant's employees on Indeed believe they are compensated fairly. While this isn't the worst you'll see on the review site, it's still not great. Food service jobs are notorious for being fast-paced and stress-inducing, and Jersey Mike's employees report that working at the sandwich chain is no exception. Unfortunately, Jersey Mike's scores below average on Indeed's Work Well-Being Survey, clocking in at a mere 68 out of 100. The survey takes into account many different factors, including stress and compensation. Employee reviews on Indeed reflect the company's low score. Quite a few comments mention a stressful work environment with high turnover rates and bad management. One former sales associate described that they were let go for not being fast enough and didn't recommend the job. It's not all terrible, however, since Jersey Mike's is rated average in the survey's happiness and satisfaction categories. Still, this is nothing to write home about. Potential applicants may want to note that the sandwich chain doesn't score above average in a single category on the survey. Working long hours is part of the job at Jersey Mike's. While every store is different, the sandwich joint typically opens its doors to customers at 10 a.m. and closes at 9 p.m. You might think this doesn't seem that bad. However, employees usually arrive much earlier than the store opens to set everything up and start food prep. They also have to stay after customers leave to close up shop and clean. One employee wrote on Reddit that it takes their crew 2.5 hours to prep everything and open the restaurant in the mornings. Other workers responded that this was normal, with some arriving at work as early as 6 or 7 a.m. According to another thread, closing takes 30 minutes to an hour, with most employees out the door by 9:30 to 10 p.m. Shift lengths usually vary between 4 and 8 hours, though higher-level employees and general managers reported that they sometimes worked up to 14 hours a day. The pros and cons of the morning versus night shift are a much debated topic among Jersey Mike's employees. Early risers might thrive on the morning shift and enjoy the rest of their day once they're done with work. On the other hand, night owls may prefer a later start, even if it means not finishing until well into the evening. While everyone is different, the consensus is that workers at the sandwich chain prefer the night shift. Some find that the night shift moves more quickly, thanks to the constant flow of tasks that brings them closer to clocking out. Cleaning up during downtimes can mean going home early. In comparison, the morning shift can get intense. It's a race against time to prepare the restaurant for opening. Working the morning shift also involves covering the busy lunch rush, which employees say can quickly turn into a frenzy. Benefits such as health insurance and paid time off are few and far between for Jersey Mike's workers. They also vary across locations and often depend on employees working on a full-time, salaried basis. Some managers and higher-level employees report receiving bonuses, health and dental insurance, paid time off, sick time, and retirement planning. However, most working at the sandwich chain enjoy nothing of the sort. One benefit that Jersey Mike's workers consistently mention on review sites such as Indeed and Glassdoor is the job's flexibility. An employee wrote that management is flexible about adjusting the schedule, particularly for staff members in school. This makes all the difference for students juggling coursework, social lives, and other responsibilities. It's also ideal for those who work multiple jobs and need to coordinate schedules. Another employee said that they basically design their own work schedule. For many, choosing when they work is certainly a dream come true. For some, making sandwiches is a temporary gig. Like other food service joints, Jersey Mike's attracts a lot of teenagers who come and go depending on their class schedules. However, there are opportunities to advance and make a solid career at the chain. Beyond crew member roles, Indeed lists job postings for positions that include shift leader, assistant manager, and various manager-level roles. The consensus is that promotions at the sub shop are possible with a lot of hard work. Jersey Mike's rapid expansion creates opportunities for current workers to move up the ladder into leadership positions. According to CEO Peter Cancrow, 350 Jersey Mike's locations are expected to open in 2024. While this is potentially great news for many current employees seeking career growth, promotion and hiring practices vary by location and owner. Even though Jersey Mike's employees find themselves engaged in a wide variety of tasks on a daily basis, boredom can still creep in. To combat this, some recommend talking to customers and becoming friendly with those who stop by regularly. One employee wrote on Reddit, "It honestly helps when you're having a bad day, then that cool customer you know stops by and you talk things out." As Jersey Mike's employees have noted on Indeed, interacting with the regulars is one of the best parts of the job. Some even build lasting relationships with customers, harkening back to the chain's humble origins as a neighborhood sandwich shop. According to one employee's review, the regulars also tip well. This makes getting to know them all the more worth it.
Every time something goes out the front door, you know the customer's going to enjoy it and come back.
Anyone who's ever worked in customer service probably knows that dealing with the public isn't always fun and games. Unlike Starbucks, which is notorious for having rude customers, Jersey Mike's customers are for the most part polite and well-behaved. That being said, many employees have still had their fair share of difficult customer interactions at the popular sandwich chain. Complicated orders and long lines during the big rushes can mean that customers grow impatient or frustrated. Unfortunately, it seems that they sometimes take it out on the workers. An employee reported having customers yell and swear at them while on the job. As one assistant manager wrote on Indeed, "The hardest part about this job would have to be dealing with some difficult customers. But luckily, my upper management has taught me very well how to approach these problems." Common de-escalation techniques include actively listening to the customer's complaints and offering solutions that address the problem at hand. Overall, the single most significant factor shaping employees' experiences at Jersey Mike's is the team environment. After all, don't people always say that teamwork makes the dream work? One employee wrote on Indeed, "If you are lucky and get good management, you will have a great experience." Good team members also make a huge difference. Even though the staff roster changes regularly, the long hours and close quarters mean that many workers form tight bonds with each other. Friendly coworkers can foster a sense of belonging, which can make the hours fly by. One employee likened their team to family, saying, "There is always a friend just around the corner willing to help you out." A supportive team is truly everything when it comes to promoting a positive working environment.
What's it like to fry solo at a fast food job? Work at Zaxby's and you just might find out. Let's start at the top. While many new employees often start out with dreams of reaching management, hoping to snag greater pay for less work, most people realize that's not really the case. While there may be less physical work, the added responsibility and time commitment can be a lot worse. This appears to be the case at Zaxby's, where management claims to have little escape from the job. General managers of any business are usually responsible for just about everything that happens on site. So it's not surprising to hear one Zaxby's manager tell Payscale that it's a stressful and demanding job where vacations aren't really possible and being on call 24/7 is necessary. Does this much oversight from a general manager leave assistant managers with a bit more freedom? A Camden, South Carolina assistant manager says that they're also on call all the time. So what about the higher-ups who work off-site? The situation appears bleak for them too, with one district manager echoing that the position leaves no time to spend with their family. There's just no rest for Zaxby's managers at any level.
There are simply times when you have to do whatever it takes.
Many fast food gigs are entry-level jobs, so few people expect the pay to be very much. These jobs are typically paid hourly and often near minimum wage. Employee reviews of Zaxby's reveal that no one's earning a fortune slinging chicken fingers either. It may even be a little worse than usual here. A former Zaxby's cashier from Rockmart, Georgia, claims to have loved the job, but had to leave because the wages weren't enough to survive on. Another employee from Tallahassee, Florida, described the pay situation at Zaxby's as, quote, not good at all. And before you claim that pay just isn't good anywhere within the fast food industry, take note that a former Zaxby's crew trainer specified on Glassdoor that the company's pay is even below industry standards. One strategy many low-paid employees use to build bigger paychecks is snagging overtime, provided they don't have a lot going on outside of work. It's not an option for many, but it appears to be an option for almost no one at Zaxby's. A crew trainer in Decatur, Tennessee, put it simply, saying one just plain cannot get overtime at Zaxby's, even when plenty of people call out, leaving holes in the schedule. An assistant manager at Zaxby's reported on Payscale that the company is, in their words, stingy on overtime, which leaves at least a glimmer of hope. But that's not all. Not getting enough regular working hours at all is another problem. A former employee from Winchester, Massachusetts was clearly unsatisfied with Zaxby's, leaving a series of complaints that included not getting enough hours. A Hot Spring, Arkansas employee claimed to have interviewed for a full-time position but received just 24 scheduled hours per week, only to be reduced to a mere 6 hours per week and was made to leave some shifts early. It's certainly a shock to anyone to go from an expectation of 40 hours to only receiving 6 hours, and at least one employee from Athens, Georgia had reported quitting over a similar situation. So, what really happens when someone doesn't show up for work and doesn't find a replacement to cover the shift? We already know that replacements aren't always called in, but short staffing isn't exactly a surprise. A former Zaxby's cashier in Morristown, Tennessee, claimed that their restaurant was constantly understaffed, describing a more chronic issue that raises questions about company policy. Another cashier in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, described an extremely understaffed Zaxby's with a manager that wouldn't even assist when there was only a single employee to serve both the drive-thru and the front counter. A July 2022 employee review from Charlotte, North Carolina, says the job was fine until everything fell apart when the restaurant became short-staffed, demonstrating that it had previously operated with proper staffing and that things had, at least once, run smoothly. Low pay and no overtime doesn't sound like a great way to lure new employees to Zaxby's, but what about the tasty job perks, like a free meal once in a while? Unfortunately for the hungry hopeful, Zaxby's does not always appear to offer free food to its employees. An anonymous Zaxby's cashier indicated on Payscale that the low pay and high demands of the position might have been more bearable if there had been a free lunch during shifts, but there wasn't. Not all stores seem to follow the same rules, though. Reporting an entirely different experience, a former cashier from Camden, South Carolina, who panned the job with a 1-star review, did acknowledge that free meals were an okay perk. Another anonymous reviewer specified that a 50% discount was the only benefit extended to part-time employees at Zaxby's, so it seems that a free meal might depend entirely on local management. What's worse is employees of Zaxby's report that they don't always get to take proper breaks, according to a former cashier from Chattanooga, Tennessee. A cook from Florence, South Carolina, says that breaks weren't even scheduled, and they would only get a break if they specifically asked a manager for one. Worst of all, a cook from Jacksonville, Florida, claims that day shift employees over the age of 18 could never get a break no matter what. implying that younger employees only received their breaks because of stronger laws protecting minors in the workplace. We've already seen that free food policies aren't followed across the board at Zaxby's locations, so it's fair to wonder what's going on and who's making the rules here. While favoritism and management may certainly be factors in certain instances, there's a more legitimate explanation, and that's simply that not all Zaxby's restaurants are owned by the same people because it's a franchised brand. Franchised restaurants sometimes have a degree of consistency between locations, but that may apply more to the customers than the employee. Those who have undergone a change of ownership have reported some pretty significant changes, as reported by one employee on Lenza. Another review on Lenza describes a similar situation with new ownership bringing new management so inconsiderate and, quote, power-hungry that they left the position after 16 years in the same restaurant. You'd think a 16-year veteran would have already seen everything, but apparently this buyout brought some pretty severe changes that prove different owners can quickly bring about a different culture, even in a large chain like Zaxby's.
I was very professional. You're fired. All right. Get out! Get out of my sight!
Fast food restaurants are magnets for first-time job applicants looking to gain work experience and put a little cash in their pockets. And many of those tend to be students. The sight of teenagers staffing a drive-thru or standing behind a burger counter is no surprise to anyone. And the same scene plays out at most Zaxby's locations according to its own staff. An Athens, Georgia employee estimated that 95% of the hourly employees were of college age or younger. A former Zaxby's cashier from Greer, South Carolina, claimed on Glassdoor to often be the only employee in the store who wasn't in high school. So perhaps 95% isn't too far off from the actual figure. A different Zaxby's employee of 6 years reported on Indeed that their store had plenty of college students, particularly in the back of the house, and enjoyed the fun atmosphere that created. So at least it's not all bad news.